Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting of your Westland City Council to order. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance tonight, led by Councilman Doug Wishart.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilman Wishart, for leading us in the pledge. Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Bauman. Present. Councilman Hart. Here. Councilman Hornbuckle. Present. Councilwoman Rakowski.
Present.
Councilman Wishart. Here. Pro Tem Samby.
Here.
President McDermott.
Here.
A quorum is present.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. There are no special announcements and presentations tonight, so we will move on to comments on the agenda from the public. This section will allow members of the public at the beginning of the meeting of your Westland City Council to address items that are on tonight's business agenda. Questions may be asked and responded to during the agenda item following a motion in support from your City Council. Is there anyone on my left? Yes, Ms. Wilson.
Hi, Lori Wilson. On the consent calendar, H and I, you have approval of parking lot use agreement with Westland Mall and approval of precinct facility usage agreement. How much are those and where is those funds coming from?
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Okay, is there anyone on my right wishing to speak on the business agenda?
Are you also taking unfinished business?
Yes, yep, that's part of the business agenda. Yes, ma'am.
And I addressed this before, and I just wanted to get it on the record again. My name is Sandra Powers. I'm the president of the board of the Abbeys of Westland, which is a neighbor to the Nursing and Rehab Center, the proposed development. And so there's some agreements that we've made with the developers on that, and I just want to go through them to make sure if they, go back on any of these agreements that we have some recourse with the city. One, the entrance for the facility will be on Marquette. It previously was on Campus Drive, and the facility will have an address on Marquette as well. A second entrance will be at the north end of Campus Drive that will be gated with a fob or a lockbox entry for use by fire trucks only in the case of a fire. That second entrance off the north end of campus closed gate will be maintained forever. Construction traffic will not use Campus Drive nor drive through the Abbeys community, but a staging area off Marquette will be set up for that purpose. The building will be offset from Campus Drive by 50 feet, will have significant landscaping and non-direct lighting along Campus Drive. And number 5, any damage to the stormwater drainage system on Campus Drive, on the east side of Campus Drive, will be repaired and paid for by the owners of the property or the city, but not the Abbeys, since the Abbeys does not own that half of the street. Further, any repairs needed to the concrete itself on that half of the street will no longer be paid for by the Abbeys of Westland. And I want to thank the developers and Delano for working with the Abbeys to come to these agreements. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone on my left wishing to speak? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Council. Good evening, Mayor, Chiefs. Tonight, I am Christina Worm, the proud chair of the Norwayne Community Citizens Council, and tonight I'm speaking in regards to the Community Development Block Grant approvals, and I'm hoping for support for the Norwayne Community Citizens Council for sure. I just realized this year is our 15th anniversary, so I'm pretty excited about that. And we started in this neighborhood when my son was 8. We grew it from couple of tables, helping people out, going around with a bullhorn, trying to get people to participate. And our events are now over 200, 800, depending on what event you're at. We run 4 events annually, 3 community gardens, which we're starting a garden club, and we would love as many participants as possible. And then we also have the largest free library within the city of Westland. We do maintain all these and try to keep these as stocked as possible. There are a couple of things in regards to the amounts. I'm also on the commission for the Community Development Block Grant, and we did ask for, there was funding that was going to be for historic preservation that was declined, and that $15,000 was supposed to be reallocated to the Norwayne infrastructure. I don't see that in the numbers that you're looking at this evening. We are trying to get our ditches and culverts. We're trying to get the ditches dug out. We're trying to get the culverts replaced. It's been a number of years. I requested this back in about 2023, if it could be looked into, and there's never been any feedback. There's never been any response. So, we have a really low water table, and we have sidewalks that literally disappear. The sidewalks are eroding, and we can't even get to a place where we would be fixing sidewalks until we fix this water issue. And then this also is not very helpful to our disabled individuals to be able to move freely within the community during different weather events. They literally have to move up into the road, and that also includes our children who are walking to school. The kids can't walk on the sidewalks. They have to move up to the road to be able to get to school. But again, this has been since 2023. Nobody still knows where the attention needs to be, where it needs to be fixed or corrected. The engineers are supposed to be coming. No one knows when that's going to happen. So it's just a lot of miscommunication, and it's not being taken very seriously. I also do want to say, we've had so much growth within these 15 years. We've been in the neighborhood for 11 years, and we've had a lot of growth. We've had a lot of changes. So much has, tearing down houses, getting our parks replaced. There's been a lot. And we're not ungrateful for anything that has ever been done in Norwayne, but there's still so much more to do. We want all of our children and families to feel proud of the area that they live in, and we want our historic neighborhood to look like a historic area. It's a gem of Westland, and Westland should be proud to be able to have a historic distinction within its city lines. And we're here to help accomplish that and to work towards that together with everyone. So thank you so much for your time. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Christina. Is there anyone on my right? Yes, Ray.
Hello, everybody. Anyway, I was going through this and number F, Fire Department, brand new furniture. Was 163.712147. Wow, that station over there is already looking good, and I just want to bring that up, and I support the fire department. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. Is there anyone on my left?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Judith Yates on behalf of the Gethsemane Missionary Baptist Church of Westland Summer Youth Program. The goal of our summer youth program is to provide a safe, productive, and fun environment for the youth of Westland and the surrounding areas. We have been serving the community for 23 years and offer a diverse range of high-quality activities and experiences designed to foster support and personal development among young people. Our summer reading initiative helps youth improve their reading level and prevents learning regression that occurs during the summer. Receiving the funding last year enabled us to buy brand-new books. Prior to that, we went to the local libraries and purchased used books. To have a brand-new book that they could keep and use to develop their own personal libraries at home generated a genuine excitement among the youth last year. If approved this year, the funds would be used not only to buy additional books, but to buy supplies and activities necessary to support the various topics that we work on this year. The funds will also be used to provide transportation and admission fees for our various field trips that provide experiential learning. We have a dedicated team of volunteers that include individuals with backgrounds in law enforcement, education, healthcare, business management, and technical fields. So again, I ask that you approve our block grant request. I thank you for your support last year and ask for your continued support this year. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Is there anyone on my right? Anyone on my left? Yes, Mr. Warren.
Okay, good evening. This is under new business, points 5 and 6. And I think that with the approval of these block grant funds, as you have in your resolution, you begin to finance the city off the backs of the marginal communities. Specifically talking about one issue here is that the support of the school liaison in the target areas. We do have a school liaison in the Westland School District with John Glenn, but John Glenn is not in the target area. The only school that would be close to the target area would be Wayne Memorial. But you already have a contract in the Wayne Westland School District between the school district. And so I don't see why that's in there for $40,000. Now, the other one is another $69,000 for the police department with question of code enforcement. And I don't know what that money is for, because those monies should be going back to the communities for the development of those communities. Our police officers are under contract. So why do they need community block grant money? I was in your budget sessions. I have never heard any mention of these entities asking for these extra monies to perform their duties. Okay, now, in regards to the Carver subdivision, we asked for a non-payment to the neighborhood services of $104,000 because we need sidewalks over there. And I'm of the opinion that the neighborhood services are already under contract. So why would the marginal communities be providing these entities with extra money to perform services that they've already contracted for? And they didn't request them in the budget sessions. So I would like for you to pull those out and find out why the administration is proposing this over the needs of the community. Because one of the major things that these development funds are for, one is the liberation of these communities, particularly the Carver subdivision, not for the limitation. Because if we don't have any money, we cannot develop and move forward out of a target zone. So if you keep taking these monies away, we will be in a target zone forever. And that's not our desire. Our desire is to develop our community so that we can remove our community from the target zones. And if these monies are taken away from them, we can't do that. So I really want council to take a serious look at that, because I know that in all of your efforts to be reelected, you said you were community leaders. Councilperson McDermott said he was for the little guy. So we are the little guy. So I would like for you to pay attention to that.
Thank you, Mr. Warren.
All right.
Appreciate it. Is there anyone on my right? Anyone out my left? Okay, seeing and hearing none, we will close public comment on the agenda and move to the consent calendar. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support.
There's a motion by Councilman Rakowski, supported by Councilman Hornbuckle. Are there any changes to the consent calendar?
Yes, thank you, Council President. I request the movement of item H and I to new business as according to the clerk's
There's a,
desire.
okay, there's a motion by Councilman Rakowski to move items H and item I to new business agenda. Is there support?
Support.
Supported by Pro Tem Sampe. Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Baumann.
Yes.
Councilman Hart.
Yes.
Councilman Hornbuckle.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rakowski.
Yes.
Councilman Wishart.
Yes.
Pro Tem Sampe.
Yes.
President McDermott.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, moving back to the consent calendar as amended. Is there any other discussion on the consent calendar? Any other changes to the consent calendar? Any other changes? Any dissent? Any dissent? Hearing and seeing none, consent calendar passes as amended.
Council has approved the following consent calendar items: minutes of the regular meeting held April 21, 2025, minutes of the study sessions held April 26 and May 3, 2025, approval of a request from AT&T Fireworks to operate a seasonal temporary fireworks tent in the Bricks West Ridge Shopping Center, 35645 Warren Road, June 24 through July 6, 2025, with the hours of operation 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. daily. Petitioner requested and received approval of a waiver from ordinance 248A80, section 413C1, which states the length of a temporary use or sales event shall not exceed 7 days during the season, except that sales of Christmas trees are permitted up to 45 days. Approval of a request from Big Sky Fireworks to operate a seasonal temporary fireworks tent in the Hunter Retail Center parking lot, 6561 North Wayne Road, from June 28 through July 4, 2025, hours of operation 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily. Approval of purchase of furniture for new fire station number 2 from Interior Environments, total amount not to exceed $168,712.47. Approval of the city's existing financial management system. Subscription term shall be for 1 year. Total amount not to exceed $114,480. Adoption of prepared land division resolution, 35857 Joy Road, south side of Joy, west of Newburgh. This was Planning Department number 2273, and the land division was approved by council March 17, 2025. Adoption of prepared resolution to proclaim May 4th through 10th, 2025 as Small Business Week in the city of Westland. Last item approved on the consent calendar today, adoption of prepared resolution to proclaim May 12th through 16th, 2025 as Economic Development Week in the city of Westland. Moving to payment of voucher.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
There's a motion by Councilwoman Rakowski. Is there support by Councilman Wishart? Is there any discussion from the maker?
Not at this time.
Any discussion from the supporter? Okay, any additional discussion from the council? Any dissent? Any dissent? Hearing and seeing none, motion passes.
We'll move to unfinished business. Item 1, approval of site plan and special land use for proposed nursing and rehabilitation center, 1155 North Wayne Road, north side of Marquette, west of Wayne. This is Planning Department number 1707J. Planning Commission recommends approval contingent upon departmental requirements and recommendations. This item had been postponed April 21, 2025.
Is there a motion? There's support? Support. There's a motion by Councilman Hornbuckle, supported by Councilman Hart. I did speak with Director Ayub. He does not have anything additional to present at this time. So is there any discussion from the maker?
Not right now.
Okay. Any discussion from the supporter? Any additional discussion from the council? Yes, Councilwoman Baum.
Just clarifying questions, I apologize, I don't really know. The site plan is, the one we're looking at is the one that was presented, there's no, we're doing changes to the site plan for today from the last one? Okay, I just want to make sure, because I know we had gotten the site plan, so I wanted to make sure there was no changes. And I know I can't speak, as I understand it, and if anyone wants to clarify, the agreements that were made with the Abbeys were agreed to by the developer, is that correct? Okay, because that's my question, just to make sure that, I'm understanding that they were all agreed to, so that's, just, okay, that's all.
All set? Councilman Hornbuckle, I see you.
Can the petitioner come to the podium for questions?
Yeah, if the petitioner would like to come forward, absolutely.
Good evening. Hey, good evening. Thanks for coming back and dealing through all this. But I just want to make sure that the 5 items that were requested by Abby, we get confirmation that you agree to these things. Number 1 was the entry. On the diagram shows that the entry has been moved to Marquette, and you are going to use a Marquette address, not Campus Drive.
That is correct, both those items.
The second entry on the north end of Campus Drive will be used only for emergencies and have a gated entry with a key fob or a lock.
That is correct.
Okay. Construction traffic will not use Campus Drive nor through Abby's community through this whole construction.
That is correct.
Okay. And the offset on Campus Drive will sit 15 feet from Campus Drive and no direct light allowed on Campus Drive.
It's actually 50 feet.
50, I'm sorry, 50.
Yeah, 50 feet.
Yep, and that's correct.
That would be correct.
Okay, any damages to the storm drain system on the east side of Campus Drive will be repaired and paid for by the owner, which is you guys, if any damages are done on, I think it's the east side of the Campus Driveway, and not be paid for by the Abbeys.
Any damage that would occur during the installation of our stormwater management would be taken care of and repaired.
Okay. As long as everything that was requested by the Abbeys is agreed, I will be supporting this going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Hornbuckle, Pro Tem.
Hi, gentlemen, how are you?
Hello.
You're like, oh, she's coming to get me. You know, last time I was not supportive of this, but I believe right now, based on the residents I talked to, there's obviously interest. My concern is making sure that you guys are a good neighbor, that you follow through on these promises, and I know that it's going to be a $26 million investment. Your business model is attractive, which is good. I heard just briefly in our council council conference room, what you guys do and the staff that you employ. I want to give you the opportunity to explain a little bit more about your facility on record, just so people know what we're considering.
Do you want to give a general overview? I mean, I can tell you that it's 98 private beds of private resident rooms. Every room has its own separate shower facility. We high-end materials in our finishes, TVs and refrigerators in all the rooms. There's a lot of support areas. The Avenue concept is set up so that there's a lot there for the residents as well as their families. We actually like being in residential environments. We think it's important. We like this location because there's independent living, assisted living, and then our facility, skilled nursing. It creates that continuum of care for the residents and families that are located here, so everything can stay for the residents. And our facilities are designed to be residential in character with the materials that we use, the design of their one-story buildings, well landscaped. And it's important to know that when you say developer, we really don't look at it as developers. I mean, the family that is doing this, they continue and maintain and operate the facilities. There are 10 currently being operated in Ohio with one under construction. And there's 2 currently under construction in Michigan, in Holland and Holland Township. So this would be the 3rd Michigan project and hopefully more to come after that. Eitan Flank, the managing partner, shed more light.
Sure. Hi, thank you all for indulging us today. Again, I'm Eitan Flank. I'm managing member of the developer, and I'm also the CEO of Progressive Quality Care. It's our management company that oversees all of our skilled nursing facility throughout Ohio and now also in Michigan. I really want to talk, our model is a little different. It's, my grandparents started this business in the 60s. My grandmother used to work in the kitchen in Broadway Multicare, and it's in Parma, Ohio. And my grandfather used to go to the market and buy fresh fruit for the residents. This is what I remember growing up as a kid when they were there. So it's kind of it's been in our family, taking care of our seniors, our old and needed, residents and when they become senior and they need help. Our model is really a little different. We're all about residential focused compared to institutional focus. The old mom and pop nursing homes that mostly in our country were built in the 60s, 70s, some in the 80s. They're all semi-private rooms. Sometimes you have a bathroom per room for two residents. Sometimes it's a Jack and Jill. We have one bathroom for 4 residents. They typically don't have showers. You have to wheel a resident throughout the facility and the hallways, cold and pajamas to a central shower. We have showers in all our rooms. It's all about the residents. It's rather than being institutional focused or residential focused. I'll give you another example. Most skilled nursing facilities, you'll come, you're eating between 12 and 1, this is what you're eating. What we do is we give you a choice, come 12 to 1, 1 to 2. It's a la carte, order off the menu, eat off fine china. We encourage everybody to come to the main hall, but the way we build our building, our building's an 80,000 square foot building, 98 bed building. Typically, you'll see these buildings, they're going to be 30,000 square foot building, they're only going to be 50 rooms because it's all semi-private. So the way we build it, we have various lounges closer to the residence room. So if the residents would want to sit and watch TV in a lounge, we let them eat there. The third option, which we don't encourage, but it's all about the resident choice. You could eat in your bed if you want. So it's all about the residents. Our therapy rooms are giant rooms, 2,000 square feet, 5,000 square feet. We'll have model cars sometimes in the room because a lot of our residents are short-term. They perhaps break a hip, go to the hospital for 3 days, and then they come to us for rehab for a few weeks. When they go home, they need we have them practice going into a model car. Our kitchens in our therapy room aren't even ADA compliant. They're not connected, none of the devices, but and the bathrooms, when someone goes to home, his tub isn't ADA compliant. So we have them practice on that. We have them practice on regular nursing homes. It's really all about the resident. That's what I'm trying to say. So in general, that's our model. At the end of the day, we like being, as Mark said, in residential areas because these are our grandparents. You know, we want a kid to be able to ride a bike to visit his grandparents. You know, we want to be in neighborhoods where the other people live. They're not, it's not commodities that we put them in areas. We don't put them in commercial areas. This is where we want. So that's kind of in general our philosophy, and I don't remember what the question was anymore. I talked too much, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So one of the things that I've heard from a lot of individuals in the community is that the building of the skilled nursing facility is going to deplete our wildlife. And as you obviously understand, there's a lot of trees, the wildlife in that area is pretty heavy. So I guess I'm trying to understand what the plan is to preserve that. And I understand that a build is necessary to clear land, but what is kind of your plan in trying to preserve as much as possible, or what has been discussed?
I mean, obviously, when there's development, if the
Sure.
city wants development, it's always going to affect your
Sure.
admin. That's no way around. There's nothing you could say anywhere you develop, unless you say there's an area that's not allowed to be developed.
Right.
Obviously, we're going to try to keep as many trees as we can that are, I mean, a lot of the trees aren't good there in general, so the trees that are bad are going to have to go. But areas that we're not developing, the whole side of the area closer, what direction?
East side.
The east side,
Towards the
right.
corner of Marquette is not being.
Yeah, we're not,
developed.
whatever we're
keep
not
it.
touching, whatever we're
Okay.
not developing, we're not just gonna go and knock down the trees. We like greenery also. Obviously, we have a whole landscaping plan between us and Campus Road to, you know, a whole row of trees to obviously cover it. But at the same time, the way we build it, one, our happy hour is over at 5. I mean, these are seniors, right? So we're not partying all night.
Right.
Secondly, even we build, if you look at our site plan, we have our, we have inside courtyards, meaning even when our residents go out for activity in open space, there's gazebos and stuff, it's between our walls, just outside with an open roof. So, you know, that's typical. So I don't know if I answered your question, but
Yeah,
it's the
no,
best I could do.
it sounds to me like you're going to try to preserve as much as possible, which I appreciate. And I guess I would just look at this as a short-term, just based on what you said. It's a short-term facility, so it's up to, what, a year max?
Well, it's a combination
A
of,
combo, okay.
combination of short-term and long-term.
Okay,
It really gives, you know, typically you won't find facilities that have the private rooms, private shower, et cetera, and these amenities, and it gives choices to your residents, so if they do want a facility like this, they don't have to leave the building. It's typical for the residents in the community. The employment will be for, you know, obviously first naturally would be people from the community who would come. And again, we're good neighbors. We fit along. I mean, we hire people
Sure.
around us, and, you know, we're communal people, so.
okay, that's good. I appreciate that. Yeah, so I appreciate you answering all of my questions. Those are the major concerns I heard in the community, is the wildlife, the clearing of the land, I mean, and also making sure that you are a good neighbor to the Abbeys, because I know they'll be a good neighbor to you.
And we've built 11 of these already, so it's not like, you know, that's what we
Yeah.
do. We know what the concerns are. At the end of the day, everybody we see these meetings in many cities, but at the end of the day, people love that we are there. We sometimes provide even shelter. If there's like emergencies, you know, we have buildings that people come to our buildings. We'll have diners, et cetera, in the building also, too.
Sure.
So,
Well, you seem very passionate. It sounds like a family business. It makes me feel a little bit better, because usually with a family business, there's heart. It's not just a brick and mortar, move on to the next, brick and mortar, moved on to the next. That's really important to me when we do consider businesses in the city, is that you're looking at this as a long-term investment. You want to stay in Westland. You don't want to build and just move on to the next. So it does make me feel a little bit better that it was. And I didn't know that it was a family business either, guys. I had no idea. So thank you for giving me a little bit of a background. I think that gives a little perspective. I didn't know any of this information before, so I wanted to give you this opportunity just to be on record, and those watching at home and those in the audience could hear a little bit more about your mission.
if you come to our buildings in Ohio, you'll see every one of our buildings has a big plaque of my grandparents on
Oh,
the
okay.
wall, kind of stating their passion and how this whole
Is that a
business
lunch
started.
invitation?
You're invited if you feel like
Can
driving
we
to
all
the Buckeye
come?
State, but, yeah.
All right, well, you guys hear it. We'll get a bus. We'll do a little travel. Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Councilman Hornbuckle.
Yeah, I just have one question.
Chair, to Mo. Just curious, at one of the Planning Commission, it was asked that we call the DNR. Did that happen? Did we get anything from that?
We did not call the DNR. I did look up a contact to do so in case that someone wanted me to. We don't usually contact the DNR when there's developments. No one is required to call the DNR for tree clearing or anything of that nature. There are certain situations where we are required to communicate with Eagle if there are regulated wetlands. That's the answer.
Okay. No worries, I just remember a resident asked that we call because of the wildlife, but thank you.
Awesome. Councilwoman Murkowski.
Thank you, Council President. Hello again. I wanted to go on record as saying that I really appreciated you attending our study session and laying out a little bit more information about your business model. The study session that we held earlier today was in reference to an ordinance to make sure that the facilities that are doing business within our community that are taking care of our more senior residents and elderly patients and, or elderly residents and some of those that are patients of your facilities and facilities like yours aren't misusing the city services. And it seems as though the business model that you, sounds like 3 generations worth of, seems to be very sound and that you provide adequate staffing, and it sounds like above adequate staffing, quite honestly, and have arrangements with private ambulance companies and, have the health of your residents at the forefront rather than perhaps the profit over people model. So I appreciate that. I was hoping that you'd still be at the podium so I could ask you the name of the group or the facilities in Ohio that you have a
Sure, we're our management team is called Progressive Quality Care.
Okay.
And all our buildings are Avenue. So the first one was the Avenue, and then depending on the city that they're at, they're Avenue at
Okay.
Edina, Aurora. We're going to have Avenue at Holland, Avenue at West Shore Mall, which is also in
Okay.
Holland Township. So.
Wonderful. Well, again, like my colleagues, and especially Councilman Hornbuckle, who spent a great deal of time speaking with the members of the Abbeys, I appreciate the flexibility and especially the sensibility of the architects, who certainly got an earful from all of us probably. But hearing that their desires are being met and that you plan on being good neighbors to them, I feel a lot more comfortable this week than I did in the previous meeting. Just please remember that, they were here first, so were the trees. But sounds like you'll be great neighbors, and we'll see you at 5 o'clock for happy hour.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All set? Thank you, Councilwoman. I will just say, first off, thank you to the Planning Commission and all the hard work they did, working with you guys on getting some of these exceptions that folks at the Abbeys wanted. My colleague as well, Councilman Hornbuckle, who met with residents over at the Abbeys. Thank you to Councilman Hornbuckle, to the Planning Commission, to the administration, Director Ayub, and the mayor as well for, kind of all bringing this together to both find what's best for our city in terms of economic development, while also balancing out the concerns that residents do have, and trying not to completely eviscerate green space over there. I had 2 primary concerns. One was what we're doing to the green space, and 2 was, as my colleagues brought up before, the run volume, the workload it's going to create for our fire department, but that, given the, what we discussed tonight at the study session, is well on its way to being addressed. And I want to thank you guys for coming to the study session to talk more about your business model and how it impacts, or in your case, doesn't impact, run volumes and workloads for fire departments and municipal public safety. So thank you for that. Thank you to the Planning Commission for your hard work, for working to get these exceptions, working with the residents, working with the administration. Again, thank you to Councilman Hornbuckle and then the mayor and Director Ayub for getting this project and all the exceptions and carve-outs kind of worked into it. So I will be in support of it. Pro Tem, did you have something else?
Yeah, I just had one quick question. Considering that you're doing the short-term rehab and the long-term care at the facilities, do you guys have medical directorship with a healthcare system, or do you guys employ individuals that are part of your team or staff?
Yeah, we have a medical director who is obviously going to be the lead doctor in charge of the building, documentation, et cetera. Then on top of it, when we have a long-term care resident, or even short-term sometimes, they have, their own doctors could come in and actually come to the building. So we have buildings, sometimes we'll have 4 or 5 doctors. And then some of them obviously have also nurse practitioners, et cetera. So,
Okay,
and then there's
so-
a director of nursing who's an RN who's in charge of all our nurses and nurse aides, et cetera.
So they're employed under your umbrella. Sometimes I know facilities, they work with like a healthcare system to have a partnership where the doctor is a medical doctor at a facility, a medical facility, and then they come in and they round on the patients.
Yeah, that
You
is.
do, okay.
I mean, the doctors could be affiliated with other medical systems.
Okay.
But they're not necessarily, we're not necessarily affiliated with that system. The doctor could be a
Okay.
doctor of the resident from before, and the medical director, that's not the only thing he does. We're just contract with him to be the overall responsibility as a medical director.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, perfect. So it sounds just, I'm understanding that you guys are a little bit more separate. You don't have a healthcare system that feeds into, sometimes, like it's probably too much to be talking about here, but partnerships with healthcare systems, and it feeds right into getting them over to the hospital or whatnot, but it sounds, yeah.
Yes, sometimes medical systems own their own skilled
Yeah.
nursing facilities, and then they feed.
We see that
they
with
feed them,
PACE and
yes.
Presbyterian Villages in Michigan,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Okay, perfect. I was, well, they were talking, I was looking at your website, so your services are pretty complex. So, thank you.
Okay, any other discussion from the council? Any other discussion? Any dissent? Any dissent? Hearing and seeing none, motion passes. Good luck. Do you want to bring this off the floor now, before we get to new business? Yep. I'm now going to recognize Pro Tem Sampe.
Thank you, Council President. I want to amend agenda because I would like to bring off the table item number 79, which was in discussion for the boulders and trees. And we do have some updated prices, so I'd like to bring that off the table for discussion.
It's the one that was tabled last week.
It was tabled last week.
And so
Rocks and trees.
it's the rocks. Yep.
Boulders and trees.
It was moved off the consent calendar.
Sticks and rocks.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a motion to bring the item concerning the boulders and trees for public park that was tabled at the last meeting of your Westland City Council off the table. Is there support? Support. Okay. Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Baumann. Yes. Councilman Hart. Yes. Councilman Hornbuckle. Yes. Councilwoman Brankowski.
Yes.
Councilman Wishart.
Yes.
Pro Tem Sampe.
Yes.
President McDermott.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously to remove item 20250479 from the table. Now you would need a motion to do something with that item.
Is there, do you want to make a motion to?
Council President.
Yes.
I would like to add this aforementioned item to, yeah, number 2050479, to the agenda for discussion.
Okay.
And I would support that.
All right, there's a motion to add item 79 to discussion. There's support by Pro Tem Sampe. Is this where we can make the amendment?
So the item, so that everyone here is aware, I'll read it. Then if there is anything that needs to be done to it, you can at that time. There is a motion to approve the bid to install approximately 19 trees and 36 boulders at Public Park located at 2301 South Wildwood. Administration recommended the low bidder, Frank's Landscaping and Supplies LLC, in an amount not to exceed $15,796.
I'd like to make that motion. to,
Actually, the motion
Been made.
was made.
I'm sorry.
She's making a motion to amend.
I'm making a motion, I'm sorry, to amend that to actually add 8 trees at a total cost of $18,868. It'd be 27 trees total and 36 boulders at Public Park.
Is there support? There's a motion on the floor by Pro Tem Sampe, supported by Councilman Hart. Is there any discussion on the motion as amended?
I can make a discussion. Thank you. So the last council meeting, I had a concern with the excessive boulders. So what I had asked the administration and was provided to me was, can you get me pricing for additional trees? So from a beautification perspective, I would have liked to add more trees, less boulders. So what we're going to do is we're going to have more of a one-for-one match. It's probably going to be 1.5 to each boulder, but 27 trees to 36 boulders at Public Park. It's just an addition of 8 trees. So it's going to look very similar, it's just 8 additional trees compared to what we had before. So that's why I wanted to bring this up, because I don't want to hold off anything, and I want the progress to begin at Public Park.
Thank you. Is there any additional discussion on the amendment? Yes.
Okay, thank you for your permission. For the sake of clarity, again, this item is included in the CDBG fund. Was that from the previous fiscal year?
That's correct.
Right, so in order to close out the fiscal year, this would be the outlying item.
This would be correct.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Is there, yes, Councilwoman Baumann?
Because I'm looking at the old agenda right now, so I just want to make sure I'm clarifying and understanding, because originally, as I understand, the 19 trees and 36 boulders was $15,796.
Yes.
And what is the add, the dollar amount add?
So, sorry.
Yeah, it's roughly about $3,700.
It's about $3,700 to add 8 additional trees.
Okay, so through the chair, I just want to make sure, I mean, I know it's a nominal, I know it seems like a nominal amount, but through the chair, I guess, to finance or to Joanne, I'm not sure, is that part of the budget? I mean, if we're saying it's part of the CDBG, we've got that money?
Yeah, Joanne is shaking her head,
Okay,
yes. So
just making sure
It would
we're
be part of the, allocated already.
Right, no, it's from last year, but I see that, but I just want to make sure that, because I know the CDBG is usually very tight with all of that, so I just want to make sure that it's available. So I think that's all. Thank you.
Okay, is there any additional discussion on the amendment itself? Before we get to the item, any discussion on the amendment? Any dissent?
I just got one question.
Yes.
Because I thought last year it was only 10 grand left. Am I not understanding that right?
Dr. Campbell, do you want to?
Thank you, through the council president. I think the $10,000 is just being confused that in January or February, city council approved to allocate an additional $10,000 to this project, but that was in addition to the funds that were already allocated for Norwayne Parks.
So,
We have plenty of money for the additional $3,700 for the additional trees.
Does that clarify?
I guess that point, but I still like plenty of money and people earning.
That clarifies your point on the trees. Councilwoman?
Another clarification. I think, as I understand this, the original allocation for this project was $52,000. Is that, am I reading that right?
No, 15.
So that's where it's available. Okay, just thinking.
Dr. Campbell, do you have anything else you wanted to add?
Yes, just to clarify, the plenty of money is that there's $52,000 in the Norwayne Parks line item, and so that means that there is sufficient funds for the additional $3,700.
Any other discussion on the amendment? Any dissent? Any dissent? Amendment passes. Now back to the original motion as amended. Is there any additional discussion on the motion as amended with the new allotment of trees? Any discussion? Any dissent? Any dissent? Seeing and hearing none, motion passes. Thank you, Pro Tem.
New business, item 1. Public hearing for proposed 2025-2026 budget. The public hearing date was set during the February 18, 2025 council meeting. To hold this public hearing during today's city council meeting.
So this is a public hearing. Before we open it up to the public, we will be turning it over to the administration for any comments. This will present the opportunity for the public to have comment with regards to the proposed 25-26 fiscal year budget. But before we do that, I will turn it over to the administration. Mayor?
I don't have any comments. Thank you.
Okay. Director Smith?
Yes, through the chair to the audience and the residents in Westland. So just a high-level overview of the budget. So far, we've had 4 study sessions with City Council. There is one more scheduled at this time for next Monday. The proposed city millages are as follows. The city operating millage is 6.1203. Police and Fire Act 345 millage, 8.00. The sanitation millage is 3.0365, and the library millage 1.7126. And there is a reduction in the sanitation millage of $0.25 mil, just for notation. The proposed general fund revenues, $86,494,943. Proposed general fund expenditures, $86,397,670. And the estimated total fund balance at the end of the next fiscal year, which is 6/30/26, would be $12,792,984. And the estimated taxable value for next year, $2,419,714,000. And that's just a high overview, so that's all I had.
Okay, thank you, Director Smith. At this point, we will now turn it over to the public for the public hearing. You will have 3 minutes to comment on the budget for the 25-26 fiscal year. Is there anyone on my left? Anyone on my right? Anyone else in the audience looking to comment? Yes, Mr. Warren.
Again, in sitting through those budget sessions, you know, they're on the average of 3 hours on a weekend, is that, again, as a citizen, I did not hear any of the requesters request extra funds for their budgets. I didn't hear the neighborhood services request an extra $104,000. I didn't hear the police department request an extra $69,000. And so I would just point out is that the communities that I'm in, the target community, is being shortchanged, and we don't need to have the issue of community block grant funds taken away for other issues other than what originally it was intended to do many years ago, to help communities develop out of their situation. And if you keep sending it over to the administration, these communities will never develop out of their situation. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Warren. Is there anyone else in the audience wishing to speak? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. I've had the pleasure of being in the study sessions the last couple weekends, and first of all, I want to say thank you guys for the dedication the last couple Saturdays. It's been fun. I think this is just a gentle reminder, and I know the discussion was made about being prepared for the future and looking at ways to cut costs. And I know one of the study sessions, we brought up subscriptions. And I'm guilty as a person of myself paying for subscriptions that we, forget that we're paying for, gym memberships, Pandora, things like that. So I just want to know if that's a plan for a study session of when those are going to be reviewed to make sure those subscriptions have been canceled and the money added back to the budget, because we shouldn't be paying for that kind of stuff if we're not using it. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience wishing to speak? Yes. Ms. Wilson.
Are the speed humps in the budget? So serious, so serious. Are they in the budget?
What was the question?
Speed humps in the
Now,
budget.
you know what my question is. Are the speed humps in the budget?
There's
Am
no
I being
deliberation.
recognized right now?
We
or-
don't usually do deliberation in public hearing, so it's just the opportunity. But we can comment on that in
Works for me.
administration comments and council comments. Sorry, Mayor. Is there anyone else in the audience wishing to speak on the public hearing? Motion to close. There's a motion to close public hearing by Councilman Hart. Is there support? Supported by Pro Tem Sampe. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any dissent? Any dissent? Hearing and seeing none, public hearing is closed.
New business, item 1A, formerly known as H on the consent calendar, approval of parking lot use agreement with Westland Mall.
Support.
There's a motion by Councilwoman Baumann, supported by Councilwoman Rakowski. Is there any discussion from the maker?
Just that it came from Director Garza. Choose over Director Garza. It's, my understanding is that, okay, we just had some conversation. Yes. Sorry.
We can go for those things. Thank you for supporting or bringing forward the motion. The item is the approval of parking lot use agreement with Westland Mall. The question was raised by a citizen, what is that? So in the opportunity to seek some clarity for those in attendance and those at home, Director Garza, can you please elaborate on what that is?
Sure. Thank you, Council President. To this honorable body, this is an agreement with the Westland Mall ownership due to our construction of our Nankin Square and amphitheater, which will be done this fall. We will need additional parking in order to accommodate larger events for the park and just regular events as well. So this is an agreement with the city of Westland in order to utilize the parking on the mall property off of Nankin Boulevard in order to supplement the parking opportunities for guests of the park.
Great. Thank you, Director Garza. The resident that asked during public comments was requesting to know what the cost was of this, and if you could please
Sure.
give us that cost.
Yeah, through the council president to this honorable body, the cost of the agreement is in consideration of $1 for the duration of the agreement, and that is because that is legally permissible in order to have a sum of $1, so it will be basically for free.
Wonderful. So the dollar makes us a legally bound agreement between the city and the mall?
Attorney Fassone.
Consideration, $1.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Attorney Fassone, did you have something else to add?
No, I was just trying to get to the answer that was in the document, which is it's $1.
Pro Tem Sampe, and then I'll get to Councilman.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Garza, for explaining a little bit more about the parking lot use. I do not believe in the packet that there was a diagram for us, there is. I don't know if those in the audience or obviously at home, if they could probably find online, but those in the audience can see. Do you guys have it in your packet? No, okay. Can we explain just exactly what area, just so everyone can be on the same page, expecting to look at the area at which we're
Sure.
having this agreement?
Sure. Thank you. Through the council president to this honorable body, the parking lot on the mall property, which is right across Nankin Boulevard, it'll be the section kind of between Garden City Hospital and the actual footprint of the Nankin Square and what will be the Nankin Square and amphitheater. So it'll not be the entire parking lot of the mall, but it'll be that parking lot that is just off, and they have curb cuts already into that parking lot, and they'll exist after the construction as well. But we will, as part of your packet, we will also publish that diagram just so folks understand what exactly will be the permissible spaces that will be allowed to be used under this agreement.
Thank you, Director Garza. Just a follow-up, and this will be in use and available after this meeting if it's approved, correct? So it begins immediately, the agreement?
Through the council president to this honorable body, yes, this agreement, once it is signed, it'll be signed by the city first. It'll be sent to Namdar Group, which is the ownership of the mall, for their signature in order to be fully executed, and it will be immediately effective.
Okay, thank you very much for the clarification. I appreciate that.
All set? And then Councilwoman Baumann, you all set? Did you have any other questions? Okay, any other discussion from the council? Any other discussion? Any dissent? Any dissent? Hearing and seeing none, motion passes.
New business, item 1B, approval of precinct facility use agreement.
So moved.
There's a motion by Councilwoman Rakowski, supported by Councilman Wishart. Is there any discussion from the maker?
Yes, thank you, Council President. This, again, it was a item that was brought to the council during public comment. The resident asked, what's the cost? So if we may, Council President, through you to the clerk, could he expound on the cost of this agreement?
Mr. Clerk.
Thank you. Well, we didn't get as good a deal as Director Garza got. In fact, this will be about 600 parking lots per precinct per election. $600 per precinct per election. We have been making payments to our non-government host locations. This is a new price. It came as a result of discussions and conversations with those who allow us in their buildings. The money will be taken from the city clerk professional services line item, just as in the past.
All set? Okay, anything from the supporter? Okay, any other discussion from the council? Any dissent? Any dissent? Hearing and seeing none, motion passes.
Thank you. New business, item 2, set public hearing to review the proposed Brownfield plan for the Presbyterian Villages of Michigan. Administration suggests a public hearing date of May 19, 2025.
Is there support? Support. Motion by Councilwoman Baumann, supported by Pro Tem Sampe. Is there any discussion from the maker? Any discussion from the supporter?
No, not at this time.
Okay. Any other discussion from the council? Any dissent? Any dissent? Hearing and seeing none, motion passes.
New business, item 3, confirmation of reappointment of Aaron Brown to the Downtown Development Authority for a 4-year term effective upon council confirmation and to expire May 17, 2029.
There's a motion by Councilman Hart, supported by Councilman Hornbuckle. Is there anything that the mayor or administration wanted to add? Okay. Is there any discussion from the maker?
No, just thanks for his willingness to do it again.
Okay. Any discussion from the supporter?
Same. Thank you for giving your service to the community. Thank you.
Any additional discussion from the council? What? Are they in the audience this evening? They'd like to stand and be recognized? Do we have them in the audience? I don't think so. Okay, well, I will just say as well, thank you for your continued service on the DDA. And with that, is there any dissent? Any dissent? Hearing seeing none, motion passes.
New business, item 4, confirmation of reappointment of Matt Miller to the Economic Development Corporation, Tax Increment Finance Authority, Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, all 3 for a new 6-year term effective upon council confirmation and to expire May 4, 2031.
Is there a motion? Motion by Councilwoman Rakowski, supported by Councilman Hornbuckle. Is there any comments from the mayor or administration? Okay. Any comments from the maker?
I'll echo the sentiments previously. Thank you for continuing to be part of the board.
Anything from the supporter?
Same. Thank you for your service. Appreciate it.
And anything else from the council? Any other comments? I will just say as well, too, thank you. I don't believe Mr. Miller is in the audience this evening. Oh, you are here. Okay, you're over there. Sorry. If you would like to, just a sec, until I get to the dissent here. But thank you for your continued service here in the city of Westland. We greatly appreciate it, and continuing to commit your time and effort on one of our boards and commissions. We need dedicated, good people like yourself, so we very much appreciate it. Is there any dissent? Any dissent? Hearing, seeing none, motion passes. Please stand and be recognized.
New business, item 5, approval of community development block grant and home programs annual action plan final statement. Administration recommends the projects July 1, 2025 through June 30, 2026.
So a motion. Motion by Councilwoman Baumann. Is there support? Is there support?
I'll support for discussion.
Supported by Councilman Hart. Director King.
Thank you, Council President, to all the City Council members, Mayor, and all the attendees here. The city receives Community Development Block Grant and Home Partnership Funds through the Department of Housing and Community Development. We still have not received notification from HUD as to what the grants will be for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2025. So we base our budget on this year's budget, and we anticipate a CDBG allocation of $1,011,372, as well as a home partnership program allocation of $336,930. The city publicly posted the proposed annual plan for the required 30-day comment period. The city held 2 public hearings on March 25th and April 21st. The city did not receive any written comments. After adoption by City Council, the city will submit the annual plan to HUD for approval. Projects cannot begin until HUD approves the release of funds, which generally occurs in August of the fiscal year. In support of this resolution, the following items are attached for review. The 2025-26 fiscal year final statement for the CDBG home funding allocations, including the budget and recommended projects, as well as prepared resolution adopting the 2025-26 CDBG and home program budgets, authorizing the administration to execute the necessary contracts to implement the programs with HUD, approve public service entities, and development agreements with Liberator Development Group and the Wayne Westland Community Schools. The City of Westland follows these objectives to comply with federal requirements. The objectives are to provide affordable housing, neighborhood revitalization, supportive services for seniors and at-risk youth, as well as supportive services for homeless and special needs populations. The Community Development Citizen Advisory Committee approved the annual plan projects and funding recommendations at the April 22nd, 2025 meeting with the following exception. So just to explain, the recommendations that are presented in tonight's resolution were approved by the Community Development Citizen Advisory Committee, with the exception that the committee recommended to allocate $104,000 to the Carver subdivision sidewalk improvements rather than to code enforcement through the Neighborhood Services Department. Whereas the administration does support such a sidewalk project in the Carver subdivision, it maintains the need to allocate community development funds to code enforcement, and therefore made the recommendation to City Council for those funds to be allocated to code enforcement, and will work to seek other funding for sidewalk improvements in the Carver subdivision. There is one small error in what was provided to City Council. The funding for Norwayne infrastructure should reflect $83,000 rather than $68,000. That was the recommendation of the advisory committee and approved, supported by administration. The City of Westland, the resolution does remove the requirement for the one-for-one match for the CDBG subrecipients. And in regard to one of the comments that was made tonight, there was a reference that there is funds in this recommendation. Again, all of the subrecipient recommendations were approved by the advisory committee at the meeting. There was reference that the community policing funds in the amount of, I believe, $40,000 is to pay for a school liaison. The school liaison is a separate, distinct contract between the Wayne Westland Schools and the City of Westland. The police officer who serves as the school liaison is not one of the community police officers. They're three different people. So I did want to make that clarification. And I'm happy to answer any questions that the council might have on the proposed recommendation.
Any questions from the maker?
Just to bring this out from I know our study sessions, at this point, my understanding through the chair to Director Campbell, the dollar amount being used for this year's anticipated budget is based off of last year's, what we did receive, because there is, my understanding, there's still some question on confirmation. Is that, can I get that clarified, just the dollar amount that's being looked at?
Yes, thank you through the council president. The dollar amount is based on this current fiscal year, 24-25's budget amount. Congress did approve a continuing resolution several weeks ago for the funds that would reflect the 2025 to 2026 fiscal year, July to June. And that continuing resolution, for the most part, holds federal funding stable, reflecting the 2024-2025 fiscal year. It's the following year. We have no idea what will be.
But there will not be a decrease or increase for this particular one that we're looking at?
Unfortunately.
We don't know. Okay, I
we
just,
don't know.
so there could be, okay, so we would address that. If there was that, we will address that at a later time. Just want,
Absolutely.
okay, thank you.
All set? Okay. Anything from the supporter?
Not at this time.
Okay. Councilwoman Rakowski.
Thank you, Council President. Through the chair to Director Campbell, I'm sorry. You had made mention in your outline of allocations that the monies that were roughly $109,000 that was recommended to be allocated to the Carver subdivision for sidewalks was countered, I suppose would be the right term. I don't want to say refused, by the administration, citing that the administration believes we could find other means to take care of the sidewalks in the Carver sub. Is that what you had said? Okay, wonderful. So I guess my question ultimately would be then, that $109,000 was then divided up how? Into what projects?
Through the council president, the recommendation of the committee was to allocate the $104,000 rather than ordinance for the Carver subdivision sidewalk replacement program.
Okay.
The entire amount.
The entire amount to the administration of the
sidewalk replacement.
Sidewalk, okay. And so the question remains that they would find other means to fund those projects. So I guess my remaining question would then be, through the council president to the administration, where will we be finding those funds?
I would defer to our finance director, Steve Smith.
So through the chair, if there's dangerous sidewalks in any part of the city, our DPS will address those and replace those as needed to limit the city's liability. I'm not sure what the program involved in this particular section, but anything that's dangerous would be replaced through the budget process through the major and local roads funds.
So if I could follow up, yeah, and I appreciate the question. We're treating the sidewalk upgrades through the city on a street-by-street basis. DPS is actually surveying each and every neighborhood to see where kind of the worst spots are, the trouble spots. Carver sub would be treated as every neighborhood in the city with the major and local road funding to fix sidewalks that need it. We also, especially I know the mayor's office gets called constantly about sidewalks. I myself or my staff will go out and look at them or we'll send a DPS form in there to make a report, and then make sure sidewalks that are dangerous or in disrepair are fixed as soon as possible. So while I understand the priority of Carver subdivision, our priority in getting sidewalks upgraded throughout the city is the same. So, thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would be remiss if I didn't recognize the fact that Mr. Warren made some excellent points, and he continues to be an advocate for the Carver sub in Annapolis Park area. And his point was that the targeted area, which the Carver sub is a part of, is pretty much the genesis from where these funds originate from. And if we have people who have sat on the board, and I don't, obviously, those on the commission, it must not have been a unanimous vote. And so I understand that it was passed. But I'm going to have to, say I would defer to those people that live in that community that want their sidewalks repaired and want their monies used in their targeted area to repair their infrastructure, that's where it be used. And so, but a few years ago, we talked about doing sidewalks all over the city, and they haven't been done, and we had multitudes of conversations about the legalities of even doing the sidewalk. So if the money is available and has been requested, Council President, I guess, I don't know if this is a motion that I'll be making, but I move to allocate the funds for the sidewalk repair to the Carver sub as requested by the committee.
Real quick, would that be on the next agenda item? Because the next agenda item actually covers the budget itself. So would it be more germane when we get to the next agenda item? Attorney Fasson?
Yeah, yes, and I also think you have to address where you're removing 104,000 from. If you're adding.
Okay, I withdraw my original motion, and I move to table both of these items until the next meeting, after having a more thorough analysis and comment from the commission.
Yes, we
There's
have a submission date by which this has to be submitted to the federal government. Is that
And we
correct?
did this last year, too.
Yeah, could I speak to the
concerns? Discussion
Just
regarding
with respect to your concerns and the,
discussion.
Okay. So there's a
Just-
motion on the floor first. Sorry, I don't mean to
table.
interrupt. There's a motion on the floor to table.
Which does not allow discussion.
Right. So we have to go on the motion first. But that is for only this agenda item?
5 and 6.
Five for
And
both
six.
items 5 and 6. Okay. So once there's no discussion, so I can't say anything
You
else.
can't discuss. My motion's out there, and it's been seconded.
Okay, all right. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Baumann.
No.
Councilman Hart.
Yes.
Councilman Hornbuckle.
No.
Councilwoman Rakowski.
Yes.
Councilman Wishart.
Yes.
Pro Tem Sampe.
Yes.
President McDermott.
No.
Now I gotta look in the books. I don't recall if it is. All right, word up with the book. Give me a sec here. Do you know offhand, Mr. Attorney, if it takes 2/3 on this?
Motion to table.
Yes. Hold on, I'm gonna look it up very quickly.
I think it's 2/3.
Majority. Motion passes. Moving to item 7, approval of the amendment to the Eloise Brownfield Plan. The Westland Brownfield Redevelopment Authority adopted the amendment on April 8, 2025.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Councilwoman Baumann, supported by Councilman Hart. Is there any discussion from the maker? Okay, any discussion from the supporter? Okay, any other discussion from the council? Did the director have any comment on this? I'm sorry.
Appreciate that through the council president, thank you.
This is item 7. We're on.
There's an important thing for the council to understand.
If we could just let her speak, because there's a lot of federal funding at stake here, and we did go through this last year. And
Okay.
I kind of thought we could take the time and maybe make changes tonight or discuss it, but I want to ask the council to reconsider that last motion, and if she could say why, that'd be great.
Yes, there's.
Thank you. As the maker of the original motion, I will,
Right, there's a motion on the floor right now to discuss item 7 with the approval of the Eloise Brownfield plan. We can do that after this
Council
motion.
President,
Yes.
does that motion have to be completed now, or can we ask for the privilege of going back to the previous item?
I think
Oh,
we
now
have
you know
to.
how they pro?
There's a motion on the floor.
Thank you.
Active motions, we have to vote, and then in front of the next item, we can go back before we make a motion for item 8. So there's a motion on the floor. It's item 7 for the Eloise Brownfield plan. It's been supported. The motion's been made and it's been supported. Is there any discussion on the motion? Yes. Director Garza.
Thank you, Council President, and to this honorable body. This is an amendment to the Eloise Brownfield plan. Eloise has operated under a Brownfield plan for a number of years now. However, Eloise came to our department to talk about adding the powerhouse as an eligible expenditure for their Brownfield plan. They received about a $500,000 grant, which came up short of what they needed in order to complete that project and to demolish the powerhouse that's on site. So that is added into the Brownfield plan, one of the items. And then 2, it also reduces how much they plan to spend at the actual location. There were projections of upwards of $5 million in the past for eligible activities on site. That's reduced down to just over $2 million on site for the Brownfield eligible activities. And also, you've probably seen this item before. We took it off one of the previous city council agenda items. And that was because there were questions about school capture of the sinking fund, which were raised by city attorney. And we looked at that and made sure that we took out capture of the school fund so that that's not an eligible capture under this because of the schools needing the millage. So we also have Steve Hitchcock as well, who's the attorney for the Brownfield on this item specifically. And again, this is for the Eloise Brownfield site.
Okay. Did the attorney have anything that they wanted to add?
No, what he said is correct, so that this time, they are increasing what are eligible cleanup costs there. Although, if you look at the payout of this through the capture, they're not going to capture all that they're going to lay out because the 30 years is going to expire. The capture that they'll get over the 30 years is less than the amount of the cleanup, so the property owner himself is also going to have to spend money on this cleanup.
Okay, great. Is there any other discussion from the council? Any discussion from the council? Any dissent? Any dissent? Hearing and seeing none, motion passes.
Council President?
Yes.
Motion to recall items 5 and 6.
Okay, there's a motion to recall items 5 and 6 by Councilman Hart. Is there support? There is support.
No debate.
No debate. All right, there's a motion on the floor. It has support by Pro Tem Sampe. Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Baumann.
Yes.
Councilman Hart.
Yes.
Councilman Hornbuckle.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rakowski.
No.
Councilman Wishart.
No.
Pro Tem Sampe.
Yes.
President McDermott.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, motions 5 and 6 have been recalled on the table. Now, we need a new motion?
Yes.
Okay. As to Do you need to read it again or not?
Sure.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. I appreciate.
We used a lot of paper today, down to only 2 seats left. Support. All right, item 5, the reintroduction, so to speak, of item 5, approval of community development block grant and home programs annual action plan final statement. Administration recommended the projects July 1, 2025 through June 30, 2026.
Is there support? Motion by Councilman Hart, supported by Councilwoman Baumann. Before we get to council discussion, Director Campbell, do you have?
Yes, thank you through the council president. I do want to share that the annual plan submission is required 45 days prior to the start of the fiscal year, so that is May 15th. The council certainly can discuss changes to the recommendation of the administration at tonight's meeting, but delaying the submission of the annual action plan to HUD by May 15th jeopardizes the grant funds that come to the city.
Okay, is there any discussion from the mayor? Did you have something real quick?
Yeah, just with respect to Councilwoman Rakowski, your concerns about the sidewalks, I guess I would just make the point that,
Excuse me, Mayor. That's not germane to what's happening right now. It's not just a concern about the sidewalks, it's the concern that these people have spoken time and time again. They started this conversation last year, and nobody has served their needs and their requests. So with all due respect, Mayor, we had the same conversation at the same time last year when we had to jam through this budget, and there was a comment at that time with Roger Shiflett, who was here, and Joanne Stead, that we would have a meeting, we would discuss these items, the commission could be present, and it never happened. And here we are a year later, and they're still asking for things for their community, and we're not doing it.
we met with council leadership on the CDBG proposal. We explained to them that changes were made at the request of the Citizens Advisory Council and Mr. Warren. We did make some of those changes, but as elected leaders in the city, I believe it's our responsibility to make the final decision.
It's our responsibility.
And the point I was going to make, if I could, is that there is funding in our city budget to repair their sidewalks. So we're just trying to make the most we can with the money that we have. So it's no, and that was what I was going to say, it's no disrespect to them or your concerns, but we're trying to do the best with the funding that we have available.
And with all due
With
respect.
for every resident.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and with all due respect, it is disrespectful to them. If people have to get up and ask for the same things year after year, and we pass the same budgets year after year, and we're not making infrastructure changes to neighborhoods year after year, be it a sidewalk, a speed bump, a tree, a boulder, then it is disrespectful to them, and they are, it's in essence saying, well, that's just, we don't care about that part. Or there's a better, more important need over here. Well, they're the target area, and how many times are we going to do this? Because this is twice in a row now. Do we wait
Not
till
every
the third
resident is
one?
going to get everything they ask for.
Please finish.
And
1 second.
we-
Mayor, let the-
I'm
let you talk,
sorry,
and then I'll get
but
to-
I'm tired of it. They've asked for things. They keep asking for things. I get it. Not everybody's going to get everything. I'm not happy with everything in the city. You're not happy with everything in the city. That's why we're all sitting here. But how many times do we have to be asked the same questions?
Well, they want ordinance enforcement too, so it's a matter of, we got to make
And
decisions
I'm
about.
worried about the year 2026 when there's no money for the whole darn program.
Really the point I'm
But can
trying
we
to
get their sidewalks done now, and can we get the infrastructure done now?
We have sidewalk funding.
I have to go to the point where I have to table it to make it a serious issue, right? It's serious now because somebody made a motion to table it.
Well,
It should have been serious every week that they've asked for the same things.
It's been serious. We've made a lot of the changes they requested, actually every other change they requested. And I just want to make one final point. We have the funding in our budget to fix their sidewalks. And if it's a priority of council, and I can tell that you're passionate about it, we will make that area a priority for sidewalk repairs.
I do want that area
But to do it with the
recognized.
CDBG funding, it's just a matter of smart budgeting. We're trying to be really careful with our money here.
And Mayor, I appreciate your budget, I appreciate all of the work, I appreciate Director Campbell, but what I can't appreciate is people voicing their concerns time and time again and them not being addressed. And so if it takes someone tabling something for it to be viewed as serious, I will do it. But I don't want to continue to be here next year, and it's we're right on the deadline, and our feet are to the fire, and we've got to do it, or we're going to lose the funding. That's ridiculous. We don't need to do that. And I'm sorry if the public asks for a meeting, we should honor that request. And it wasn't honored. Just because you met with council leadership, I can appreciate that. But did all that information get down to the rest of the council members? Were there,
Okay, she asked me a question, so I would say that it would be on the onus of council leadership to
you're right,
communicate with
Mr.
you guys.
Mayor. But
And I would
it's
just,
also on the onus is on us
Yeah.
to listen to the public that have been speaking time and time again.
and we are, but we just
So
can't always.
this was my action to make it as important to you and the
important.
rest of the city as it is to them.
It's very important, and if we could recognize Director Campbell.
Yes, Director
Okay,
Campbell,
thank you.
please, if you want to address what's been discussed.
Yes, thank you. So it is true, I was not here at the meeting last year. I know that Roger filled in my stead in a very professional manner. The Community Development Citizen Advisory Committee has met 4 times since last year's meeting. The first time, the idea for sidewalk replacement that was brought forward at one of those meetings was the meeting on April 22nd. The committee did make that recommendation, but as Mayor Coleman has shared, there are other funds to pay for sidewalks around the city, including the Carver subdivision. If it is the council can make amendments to this proposal and still approve it this evening without jeopardizing the grant funds by not being able to submit by May 15th. If there is not an approved budget, then I cannot submit the paperwork to HUD until there is an approved budget. And this is the first time that the Carver subdivision sidewalk idea has come forward. So we haven't had time since April 22nd to look at what the need is, what the costs would be. And as Mayor Coleman shared, there is also a large need and request for ordinance. And is ordinance perfect? No, it is not. But taking funds away from ordinance is not necessarily the answer either. Because right now, this entire issue is about ordinance or sidewalks in the Carver subdivision. And Mayor Coleman has been able to identify funds for the sidewalks, which would allow us to continue the ordinance activities. The ordinance activities also occur in the Carver subdivision. So it's not that they only occur in the Norwayne subdivision, for example. They occur in the Carver subdivision as well. So it's not, allocating it to ordinance also benefits the Carver subdivision because ordinance falls under that purview of those community development funds. But tabling this does jeopardize the grant funds, and it was just very important to me that all of the council members understand that tabling this till the next meeting would then prohibit me from being able to submit the annual action plan in a timely manner.
Thank you. Councilman Hart, I see you have your light.
Thank you, Council President. Through the chair to Director Campbell. So the CDAC, when they meet and they present to you kind of their proposal, Is this something that the CDAC like votes on and there's a majority? So and what you've presented, was the majority of what they presented you involve the sidewalk? Or what you have right now, what you've brought to, in front of us?
So through the council president, the only difference between what the Community Development Advisory Committee voted in favor of
Okay.
and what the administration is presenting is the $104,000, whether it should go for sidewalks in the Carver subdivision or ordinance, which benefits the
Okay,
Carver
so
subdivision.
that was, I just want to make sure we're on the same page. Everybody knew the process. So if the ask was, well, two things, I'll say this. The ask was for sidewalk. The mayor's just committed that we have budget to handle the sidewalk and start the road program. So I view that need being met, okay? So from my opinion, the ask is being met, but it doesn't address the underlying issue still I think we need to address, okay? And that is we're the exact same spot this time that we were last time, and people are angrier this time. Council's more upset, the residents are more upset. And this looks to me like something that could be avoided, that we should have learned our lesson the last time and didn't. So is it just a big hairy mistake or is it intentional? So I think that's something that's on in everyone's mind right now. Like I said, I'm going to pinch my nose. I'll support this, okay? But this should never happen again. And, you know, the one time it happened, we scrambled up here and we really just got, you know, a gun to our head, for lack of a better word, and passed it because of the risk that happens with not getting the funding. But it happened last time, tempers were flared, and I just don't know how this was allowed to happen again. And I would expect that if this does happen for round 3, I don't know what the council at that time, what they look like, how they're going to address that, you know, but I'm sure a lot of people are going to remember. So I would ask you guys to never let this happen again, and everybody be in lockstep before it comes in front of the council. And maybe don't wait till the beginning of May to put this up, you know, just a thought. Thank you, Council President.
Okay, Pro Tem Sampe?
Thank you. Thank you, Joanne. You know, you do a good job, and I know you're just trying to process this and get this approved. My question, I guess, is that we have $173,000 combined between $69,000 for police department code enforcement, and then we also have code enforcement for ordinance staff, resolve health, safety, code, compliance issues in targeted areas. Well, that's one issue. I would like to know, can I understand and the public understand the difference between what the police department is doing and why we're paying the police department to do code enforcement in a specific area, marginal communities, and then we also have 104 in another area, which is going to be neighborhood services. Can neighborhood services just do it and we take the 69 for sidewalks? I'm trying to process this, and I'm talking out loud, but I'm trying to understand what is the difference. So I don't know who this is going to go to. Okay, all right, through the chair to Joanne, if you want to address that first, if please.
Yes, thank you through the council president. The neighborhood services ordinance officials are limited in what they're able to do for code compliance, for ordinance compliance, and they cannot go onto private property. And so the funds that are allocated to police for code compliance are for those activities that the ordinance officers are not allowed to do under the city's ordinances.
Okay, so then I'll flip it then through the chair to the police chief. What has your officers been doing? Is this overtime pay? Is it just in their normal day-to-day? Maybe, Chief, if you can explain a little bit more about what that line item is.
Sure. We do work with code enforcement once in a while when they need our assistance, such as when they need to get administrative search warrants and some other things, but it's not a dedicated unit per se. They call us when they need some assistance at the time. We respond and assist them and consult for search warrants and stuff.
So, Chief, would it be remiss of me to even ask, do you need that almost $70,000 to fund the department for assistance, or, I mean,
I mean, I don't know if I had to be something more for finance. My end of the budget's good. I like it where it's at.
sure.
But as far as, I don't know exactly how that would be parsed up with finance.
Okay, so through the chair to finance, sorry, I don't mean to flip, but I'm trying to understand here. So through the chair to finance, does chief need that in his budget to fund officers? Because I'm trying to understand, as stated before, where this is going.
So through the chair, so it gets a little complicated because on the police side, those are all expenditures. The 69,000, those come in as reimbursements to the general fund. So the police officers are all funded, but this is a funding mechanism in part, obviously not in total, but it's just, these are revenues coming in the general fund. And what the chief spends is the expenditure, so I don't know if that helps, but it's all, all the money we get from CDBG, those are revenues within the general fund, so.
Okay. So to me, it sounds like individuals that are asking for sidewalk improvements, that $69,000 line item, chief's covered, his budget's balanced, he's covered, he has what he needs. Realistically, that $69,000 could be converted to do the start of sidewalks, is that correct?
So through the chair, if I can clarify that a little bit, if the 69,000 is taken away from general fund, then it's 69,000 less that's in the budget. So let's just say, I think the mayor had mentioned earlier, we're adding to fund balance, say $500,000. That $500,000 would be reduced by 69,000, if that makes sense.
Okay. So to be clear, we're having marginal communities pay for code enforcement of $69,000, and we're saying they're coming out of the general fund, but I'm assuming it's coming under a grant. So help me understand how we can make this make sense.
Director Campbell, did you want to take that? Looks like you-
Well, I just want to comment on the marginalized communities are paying for the funds. I mean, these are federal funds, so every person sitting in this room is paying their federal taxes, and that is, so it's not like the residents of the Norwayne subdivision are paying more taxes for these. This is just like additional funding that comes to the city. We're fortunate that we're an entitlement community, that we receive these federal funds. The talk of the marginalized communities are paying more. In essence, it's the opposite. These funds are but they have to be spent in CDBG eligible census tracts. So we cannot spend, so this is like extra funds that are available for those communities.
And that, okay. So that makes sense, Joanne, yes. What you're saying makes sense. However, ultimately, for some of these line items, let's just use, for example, the police department, community policing, school liaison in the targeted areas. So we have an agreement with Wayne Wesleyan Schools that we will provide school liaisons. This is different, correct? And where is it going? Like, where's the $40,000? Is it going towards our partnership? Is it going towards a specific school?
And so that, I do apologize, they do not serve, in the past they served as school liaison. The community police officers no longer serve in that role. So I apologize that that's in there. It should not say school liaison.
Okay, so it's just community policing then? Okay. So, I think looking at, and speaking with some of the committee, they have a 6-0 vote, a unanimous vote for sidewalks in the Carver subdivision. And I guess the disregard makes me have heartburn because they're asking for something. We have a committee, they meet, they spend their time, and they're asking for the sidewalk program that was very well frowned upon by some members of the administration currently in their role. But at the same point, if that's what they're asking for and we have the money, but then in some line items here, with code enforcement in 2 different areas, and Chief saying, I'm good with my budget, I don't know why we can't use that money.
Mayor, did you want to take that?
I would love to answer these questions. So if we reduce that item, you're talking about taking $70,000 out of the police budget. We would lose a police officer. And this is a community that keeps asking for more police patrols. Here's the thing. We have several boards and commissions in our city, but the folks sitting up here are the ones elected by the residents to make these decisions. So with respect to all of the committees, we listen to them. We make as many changes as we can, but do we do everything perfectly the way they recommend every time? No, because we're elected. Us up here are elected to make the final decision. So to cut a police officer when we already have funding for sidewalks, I don't know if this is getting through to you guys, to cut a police officer when we already have the funding for sidewalks, it's not adding up to me.
Mayor, I'm not going to cut a police officer, I'm going to cut it from a different department, because that's the way that I would never cut public safety. Please, please do not put that in my mouth. Please do not even say that. Public safety is number 1 in my book, and it's the
You
number 1.
brought up the police line item.
No, sir, I did not.
Yeah, you did.
No,
Person
no,
talking
no,
is
no,
on.
no.
Go ahead.
And we have the funding for our sidewalks already.
At a time, please. Pro Tem.
I did not say I'm cutting a police officer, let's be clear. I'm saying that on record right now because I don't want it in my mouth. What I'm saying is right now, I am not cutting his budget, I will take it from somebody else's budget. That's it. I will take it from another department, I will not cut a police officer. What I'm looking for today is to make sure that we have sidewalks. So if we can identify through finance where and how much money is needed for sidewalk repairs, I would be absolutely fine with approving this budget, but I have heartburn not knowing where this is coming from and how we're going to achieve this without this money.
Local road and major road funding and Metro Act funding, we have hundreds of thousands of dollars to put towards sidewalks. Now, there was a proposal by a former mayor to do a $5 million sidewalk repair program, but it was never funded by the state of Michigan. So unfortunately, we couldn't follow through on that because $5 million is kind of beyond what we could just reach into the rainy day fund and spend, right? So like I said to Councilwoman Rutkowski before, if this is a priority of City Council, and you know me, I try to always be reasonable, and like I said before the meeting, it's all about give and take and working with you guys. If we want to prioritize a certain few streets and make sure their sidewalks are looking perfect, I will work with you guys to make sure it happens this year. And I will guarantee that we fund it with existing funding. But to pull, from other budgets or to, and I wasn't trying to put words in your mouth, but you did start asking the chief if he needed the 70 grand. So it was kind of looking like, whoa, are we talking about cutting a body here or what? I don't want to see our community police officers lose their roles, but it needs to be funded that way. So I wasn't trying to put words in your mouth. But we have the funding to do these sidewalks. And I don't want to tear up the CDBG budget because I know the committee recommended it, but they might not be aware of all of our avenues and revenue streams to do these sidewalks. They don't necessarily have all the information that we have up here. So that's where I was going with that.
That's fair, but the $69,000 would not affect his budget our community police officers would be in place. What would have to happen is we find money in other areas and other departments, and we cut from them. The proposed raises for everybody and their brother, we'd have to scale back on that and make sure that the police was able to fund their police officer. That's all I was saying, is I am not cutting public safety, because everyone right now in listening to this will know that public safety is number one for me. So that's why I did get a little upset, because they don't deserve to have our community police officers not community police officing their district or their area.
Okay, so I'm not going to apologize for my passion about this, because I think it's just silly at this point. The action was taken so that we were having this serious conversation. It's a serious conversation. When people feel and people live in an area that's targeted, that allows a community as wonderful as ours, that's 85,000 strong, but really that money comes here because of those areas. And yeah, we're a whole opportunity city, and yeah, there's a lot of census tract where this can be used, and in a lot of different ways that it can be used. They want the sidewalks. And Mayor, I think it's great and wonderful that you said you're going to do it. I want to believe you're a man of your word. I looked at, we're looking forward into our budget. There's, we get a map. Every part of the city gets a zone. It's not your precinct zone. Not a lot of action going down there with the local roads. Chief Dolly says he's satisfied with his budget. During the study session, you said you're pretty satisfied with the amount of money that's going to our fund balance, and you told it that you believe it's to be the most ever.
In a while.
In a while, okay. But a pretty good amount, right?
A good amount.
We're deep into the six figures of the fund balance, yes? What we're contributing
Yep.
with your proposed budget as it stands today. Wonderful. So we don't have to take anything from public safety. We don't have to, and we can do all of the sidewalks, right? Maybe not every inch of sidewalk in the city. But I say we use the money that we still have it available. And I remember, because I supported the motion that was made to add a police officer to the budget a few years back. And we all right? I know everybody wants police. We get that. We all want to be safe. We all want to be cared for by the fire department and when we call 911. That's not what they're saying. It's not what they're saying. They're saying, take care of our part of the community, because we are the targeted area that's bringing all of this money to your community. That is what they're saying. And we all messed up last year, because we all went ahead and passed it because our feet were at the fire. And we didn't, I'm sorry, I didn't hold council leadership accountable. I didn't hold you accountable to make that meeting happen. I didn't hold myself accountable to make that meeting happen. I didn't hold administration accountable to make that happen. But right now, what I did is so that we had this conversation. And so the other side of that is, it's not our job to allocate that money. Or say, well, if we do this, then we can't do that. Our job is to say, we want the money for the sidewalks. And we let finance do the rest of the bean counting and let it move. So if that means, if your recommendation is that we remove it from the policing line items, and you're still going to have your full force that we all appreciate, and we're still going to have a real healthy fund balance, then that sounds like a partial resolution. But it doesn't ever replace the fact that we allowed this to happen. That we allowed it to happen for 365 days. That a whole community of people said, we want certain things in our community, and we didn't do it. So shame on every one of us.
Councilman Hornbuckle.
Thank you.
Thank you for waiting.
I just have some clarifying questions that, for Joanne, if that's okay. You said when this came to the table to the mayor, the 104 was for something else. Is that correct?
Through the council president, the recommendation of the advisory committee was, rather than spending the 104 on ordinance, to spend it on the Carver sidewalks.
And that's the
And
only
that
change
was-
that was made?
There were other changes under the subrecipients, and the administration agreed with all of those changes. Also, the committee made the recommendation to remove the one-for-one, the dollar-for-dollar match. The administration agreed with that. So there were several items that were voted on by the advisory committee that the administration agreed to. The only one that the administration proposed differently was regarding the Carver sidewalks, because the administration made a commitment to find other funding for that line item.
So, okay, so the only change was the 104 was changed out, and the mayor agreed that we would do sidewalks in that area. So my question to the mayor is, when do we start on those sidewalks if we're going to do those sidewalks? And look like they want 104 worth of sidewalks done. Can we guarantee 104 worth of sidewalks are done, and when do you start?
That's a great question. I appreciate you asking. I will commit to making sure that we survey the entire Carver subdivision in the next month, and then repair the needed areas this summer. And as far as a budget for that, I think it would probably be at least 100,000 or exceed it. And I definitely respect the passion of everybody speaking tonight. Everybody's neighborhoods are important to me, and I do care a lot about the quality of life in everybody's neighborhood. And I would just add that CDBG eligible areas are kind of diverse throughout the city. You have parts in the north end, south end. It's something where we try to keep in mind everybody's different needs. But with the priority tonight to make sure these sidewalks are done, I'll definitely commit to making sure it gets done. Thank you.
Councilman. Did you have anything else?
No, that's it. I just wanted to know a commitment and a time, especially since the board did agree that that was needed. They're here asking, and, you know, the mayor did say he had funds to do the sidewalk, so I want to make sure that at least $104,000 goes to that community, and a date when they can see some action. So, thank you.
Councilwoman Baumann, you've been waiting patiently, and then we'll go to Councilman.
Thank you. And only, I know that we don't have any information for you guys to see. My understanding is there's 3 categories. There's the neighborhood police, which is 40,000. There's a neighborhood police for code enforcement for 69,000. And then there's the code enforcement for 104,000 that comes out of our, our neighborhood services. So there's 3 different categories, because when I'm doing the math, my first question was where, I wasn't sure how the 104,000 was come up, but I realized it's 1 category. And I'm not hearing a motion to take, and part of my thing is I'm like, okay, if we're guaranteed that we're gonna get sidewalks from the mayor, and it's just not gonna come out of community block grant, it's gonna come out of a different area, I guess my question, which I don't know that I can get answered necessarily, is what is the concern there? Why does it need to come out of one bucket versus another if we're going to get it done? Is it okay coming out of the general fund versus community block grant? Or does it need to have come out of community block grant? And then there's no motion, I've heard no motion to move the money, to change it. My question would be, though, is that if for some reason a motion was made to say that that the sidewalks were coming out of community block grant, and we removed the 104,000, I guess they tie in with the police department of 69,000. They tie together. You don't, the code enforcement for the police if I'm just saying this out loud because I'm trying to make sure that there's a full understanding that if we did take away 104,000 out of this from neighborhood services, one of the things I have heard residents say is that they want that code enforcement in these areas, in Norwayne and these other areas. They want that. So I guess how do we reconcile, we want the code enforcement, we want our neighborhoods to be, for people to come and say, no, you can't have that garbage there. Or we want people to, we want the city to come in and say, no, you've got to paint this, you got to, whatever the enforcements are, they're asking for that too. So I guess I'm trying to reconcile that multiple asks, but if we have the commitment by the mayor, I'm actually comfortable with that, to do the sidewalks out of the general fund. I am comfortable with that, to keep this. So I don't know if there's a question there. If there's a comment wants to be made about that, I'm open to hearing other comments unless I'm missing something. I think Director Campbell would like to respond to, so.
Yes, Director Campbell.
Thank you.
Mayor, you can-
Well, I'll speak for the administration. Thank you. I want to answer your question, and the reason that we structure it this way is because there's certain funds are restricted funds. So local and road funding, that can only go for roads and sidewalks. This CDBG money, there's a little more flexibility to do certain things that benefit, well, the whole city or targeted areas. So when we already have this pot here that can only go for roads and sidewalks, why not use that money? And then it frees up this federal funding, this federal grant funding, to do some of these other things that will benefit our community. Does that make sense? So it wasn't to try to ignore anybody's priorities or concerns. It was just to try to prioritize this funding so it stacks up for the benefit of everybody.
Thank you. I hope that.
Yeah. Does that answer your question?
I think so. Like I said, I'm trying to figure out and I know necessarily, why is it, I appreciate that, because I think that's, like I said, I'm comfortable with the monies coming out of the general fund and this staying where it's at. One more clarifying question for because there's two maps, and this might go to Director Campbell as well. When there's a question about the targeted areas, so there are two maps. There's the map, and I think I understand it, but there's the census tracts, and again, I apologize because you guys can't see these maps, and they're online if you can pull them up, whatever, on your phone. But the census tracts and block groups have portions throughout the city of Westland. And then there's another map that says it's the CDBG and home project locations, and that only has the Norwayne and Annapolis and Carver subdivisions on that. Can some description or understanding of that for our residents to know what that is? That would be great.
Director Campbell, please.
Yes, thank you through the council president. There are 13 CDBG eligible census tracts in the city of Westland. And that's based on income, so what that means is 51% or more of the populations that live in those census tracts have incomes at or below 80% of area median income. Traditionally, the city of Westland has allocated most of the funding for the Community Development Block Grant Program to the Norwayne subdivision. Norwayne subdivision has always qualified as an eligible census tract, and now funds are being allocated to the Carver subdivision, which became an eligible census tract in 2016. So before that, maybe back in the 80s, it also was an eligible census tract, but during my tenure, that happened in 2016. And one of the graphs that I give to City Council when we do the study session shows how the CDBG funds have been allocated over the history since the City of Westland participated, and that shows the amount of funds that have been allocated to the Norwayne subdivision, to the southeast part of the city. So not only the Carver subdivision, but also Annapolis Park, which has never qualified as an eligible census tract. But we've done, during my tenure even, we've done special things to make sure that we could do smaller projects with the federal funding. And so there are other areas that qualify, but primarily the City Council has always felt it best to allocate the majority of the funding to the Norwayne subdivision and the Carver subdivision. And then the other map just shows where the bigger items are occurring.
Councilman Wishart.
Someone's already asked my question. Thank you, Council President.
Okay. Pro Tem Sammy.
So based on what I'm seeing right now for code enforcement, $104,000, I was under the impression that we would be hiring ordinance officers for the city that would cover the whole city. So my concern is that we're asking the block grant to pay for 2 new ordinance officers at $52,000 a year, and they only can be in one area. So I don't know why we would hire code enforcement ordinance officers with that money, because that money essentially is supposed to stay in a certain area. So that wouldn't be fair to the block grant to have people pay for ordinance staff for their particular area.
And if I can.
No, I want, the ordinance officers should be I want the ordinance officers to be able to staff the whole city, which is why I don't feel comfortable approving the code enforcement at 104. That's why I really would like the sidewalk to be in that line item.
Can I ask a follow-up to that?
Sure.
When the ordinance officers, because they are contracted employees, they're not city employees, contracted through neighborhood services, when the work that they are doing in a CDBG eligible tract is done, it's being paid out of this pot of money. When they're doing work outside of a CDBG eligible tract, they're being paid with the allocated general fund dollars, separate and independent from the CDBG tract money. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
So how much are these ordinance officers making a year then? Through the chair, through finance?
Through the chair, I mean, it varies. It depends how long they've been here, if they're newly hired. It just varies. So we can get you an amount if you want, but there's 2 in the proposed budget that we haven't hired yet, so.
Yeah, I just don't feel comfortable with keeping this in here.
Councilman Wishart.
Thank you, Council President. Would it be possible to have a guarantee by like next city council meeting that the sidewalks are established, which ones we're doing before the budget gets approved at all?
No, because they want us to approve it tonight.
The budget has to be approved tonight, so that, we can get a guarantee potentially of that they're going to go out, work with the engineering firm to determine the cost and get an estimate of what that would cost for, I don't want to put words in the administration's mouth, I apologize, but do you want to take that?
Yeah, I can commit to, we'll make sure we survey every sidewalk in the Carver sub within the next 4 weeks, just to give staff the time to go out there and do it.
104.
And then, again, the needed repairs can be done this summer. So I think it's probably a good way to go forward with this. But does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Rakowski.
I think we're at an impasse here where we're just not going to find a resolution this evening. And so, I understand the timeliness, I understand the worthiness, I understand the amount of money, but I also understand that people also have the right to not feel like, here we go again. And that's right where we're at. And so it's wonderful that everybody recalled line items 5 and 6, but we've debated this up and down and nobody's found a solution yet. And we could be here till midnight. No, because I'm talking.
1 sec.
And I have the floor. I've already been corrected once by a colleague, and now you're trying to interject. If we're at an impasse, then I would implore the council leadership to make a decision, to have a special meeting, so that we can actually sit down, not be here till midnight, hammer out the details, and actually have the committee in attendance so that it can be heard. I understand, we have this pot of money and that pot of money, but sometimes it's not about the pots of money and where you get them from. It's about the people. And that's where I'm at. It's the people.
Council President.
Yes.
Call the question.
There's a call to question by Councilman Hart. Is there support?
Support.
Supported by Pro Tem Sampe. The question is called on agenda item 5.
To proceed immediately to item 5, vote. Councilwoman Baumann. This is the call for the question. Vote.
Yes.
Councilman Hart.
Yes.
Councilman Hornbuckle.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rakowski.
No.
Councilman Wishart.
Yes.
Pro Tem Sampe.
No.
President McDermott.
Yes.
Motion passes. We will now be voting on item 5 as moved and supported. Councilwoman Baumann.
Yes.
Councilman Hart.
Yes.
Councilman Hornbuckle.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rakowski.
No.
Councilman Wishart.
Yes.
Pro Tem Sampe.
No.
President McDermott.
Yes.
Motion passes. New business, item 6. Adoption of prepared resolution to approve the 2025-2026 Community Development Block Grant and Home Administration Program budgets. Administration is authorized to prepare and submit the CDBG/Home Annual Action Plan 2025-2026 to the U.S. HUD, and both the city administration and city attorney are authorized to prepare and execute the necessary agreements to implement the projects and programs listed.
Is there a motion?
Yes, so moved.
Support.
Motion by Councilwoman Baumann, supported by Councilman Hart. Is there any discussion from the maker?
Not this time.
Any discussion from the supporter?
No, sir.
Is there any additional discussion from the council? Yes, Pro Tem.
Thank you, Council President. I think there's been a lot of debate. Thank you for hanging in with us. I am going to ask that we have a special meeting. That's kind of where I'm at. That way everyone can be heard, but I'm really in right now, the mindset of having a special meeting on this, which could be done this week, whatever day is available for administration. That way, we'll be able to have voices heard.
That's on, but not on item 8. That's on, so you're making a motion to have a special meeting on the,
Yes.
okay.
Sir, to be clear, that's not an amendment,
No, it's not an amendment, it's a motion.
and there's a motion on the floor.
Right, for the.
So my inclination is that the motion is not in order.
Okay, so I know how to vote then, thank you.
Attorney Fasson, did you have something to add?
No, the clerk, the esteemed parliamentarian of many years,
Yeah.
has properly adjudicated the decision.
Councilman Hart, the light is on, do you have?
No, I have nothing.
Okay, all right. Is there any other discussion from the council? Any other discussion? Any dissent?
Dissent.
Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Baumann.
Yes.
Councilman Hart.
Yes.
Councilman Hornbuckle.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rakowski. Councilman Wishart.
Yes.
Pro Tem Sampe.
No.
President McDermott.
Yes.
Motion passes. We are now going to go to item 8, new business, item 8. Approval of resolution acknowledging early voting for all Westland voting precincts for the 2025 primary and general elections to be conducted within Westland City Hall during the hours of 8:30 a.m. through 5 p.m., Thursday, Friday, Saturday, July 31, August 1, and August 2, 2025, and Thursday, Friday, Saturday, October 30, October 31, and November 1, 2025.
So moved.
It's a motion by Councilman Hart, supported by Councilwoman Baumann. Is there any discussion from the maker?
Not at this time.
Any discussion from the supporter? Any additional discussion from the council? Any dissent? Any dissent? Hearing and seeing none, motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay, we are on public comment. We will now move on to public comment. Everyone speaking for the council shall do so in a civil manner. Speakers shall refrain from abusive or profane remarks, vulgar language, disruptive outbursts, threats, racial slurs, or other conduct that interferes with the orderly conduct of the business meeting. Excuse me, I just lost my place. I apologize. Personal attacks on council members, the administration, city staff, or other speakers or members of the public will not be tolerated. The clock will start upon the first words of the speaker and will not stop while the speaker is recognized from the floor. The speaker can ask questions at this time, and the person in question may respond during the speaker's allotment of time. However, the clock will not be stopped once it is started. The clock will continue to run until 3 minutes is up or the person is done speaking, whichever comes first. Public comment. Is there anyone on my left? Yes, Mr. Wong.
Well, I can see the whole picture now is that the community block grant funds is just basically discretionary funds. That's all it is for the city. You call people in to make decisions and give them the hype that they're actually playing a role in the city, and then the city sees itself as bigger than the community that it claims to represent. And with the vote, some of the council members are bigger than the communities that they claim to represent. And so why have a commission there, and then when the big dollars come, nothing like that. Even when Gethsemane came in there, it was always a problem. When the black community comes up, it's always some problem. Always some problem. We can't get the funds, our community, but I'll tell you this, that I got 2,830 votes there. Some of you ain't gonna get them. And you're gonna have at least 1,000 votes against you in this election. So that's all I can say, is that Lori Wilson and I will be out knocking on doors. If you knock on doors, we're gonna come right behind you, and any candidates that you may support, or as a candidate, we're gonna knock you down in that community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Warren. Is there anyone on my right wishing to speak? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for hearing me. I have two items I want to talk about. One is that there are two houses that are vacant and abandoned off of Wayne Road, west of Wayne Road, both on the north and south side of Marquette. One of them, the nursing facility, I think, is going to purchase it. I'm assuming they're going to demo that house. But what about the other house over there? I know we want to get rid of blight in the city, and then these are just monstrosities that are just awful in that area. That's one. Thank you. The other one, and I brought it up before, I'm representing, again, the Abbeys of Westland. We are a condominium association, real high tax base. We pay over $500,000 a year in taxes, yet we don't get the city services that any normal homeowner gets. For instance, we don't get snow plowing, we don't get concrete repair, we don't get sidewalks. When a storm sewer fails, we have to fix it out of the HOA fees and that kind of a thing. So we're spending $500,000 in taxes, not getting those services, so then we have to also pay additional HOA fees for a little less than $500,000. We have 104 units there. They're paying $350 a month for that, so that we can cover these costs. So my questions are two. What are our options for changing this imbalance of city services? And two, who in the city do I work with on this issue? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone on my left wishing to speak? Yes, Ms. Warren.
Also, I want to say I'm super happy to hear an impassioned conversation about community development block grant funds for once. I know that this started last year, I know this kicked off, but I have to reflect my disappointment that no one reached out to us or had conversations with us between then and now, that we are at this same spot again. If we could have had these impassioned conversations and realized what these funds are for, why we receive these funds, there has to be an understanding. I've went down numerous rabbit holes of understanding this whole process because it's not easy once I took the responsibility of becoming part of the commission. It's my responsibility to educate myself. I'm making decisions on it. That's what I expect from my leaders as well. It's not easy. I know it's hard, but we get these grants because of this. We've been getting it since 1975, $1 million a year. These neighborhoods should be completely restored by now. They could have been torn down and rebuilt with money of $1 million since 1975. I've only been there for 11 years. And like you said, we've been asking for the same things. And we get this money for a reason. But to see it just continuously going to the general fund is just disheartening. So thank you very much for having impassioned conversations about it. And hopefully this money does continue. And we can have these conversations between now and then again, but have them before we get to the deadline. That's what would be greatly appreciated. Thank you. All right.
Thank you. Is there anyone on my right? Yes, Ray.
Sure was a long evening. And my new name tag, and I'm very proud of it. As a chair, go Ray as an updates. Matter of fact, autism, let's talk about that for a minute. That was great. I really enjoyed it. The community and seeing people getting together, walking, the tables with the flyers and stuff like that, and I think the education piece is a need, and it's really good, and hopefully next year it'll be bigger, because my agency, I want to invite some people from autistic too. So, anyway, matter of fact, I was taking notes here, and I really, because the fire department was there, the police was there, it was great. I think people were having a great time. I really enjoyed it. And the mayor was there, it was great. So I seen people interacting with each other, I was talking to people, handing out my flyers for the advocacy group of us, what we're doing, and, and the dates where people can come. And I think that'd be great. So, yeah, I know we were talking about that big budget today, When we all sit on that board, we have tried to make the decisions the best that we can. But sometimes I feel the same way, that we're not being listening to. So, I just wanted to share that for a second. And anyway, let's see, anything else? I think I pretty much, oh yeah, I'm going to be in Kalamazoo, driving up there next week. Talk about self-determination, talk about peer mentoring, and just spread the word. So me and some other advocates are going to be up there. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. And I'm going back up to DD Council the week after for 2-day retreat, taking my voice back up there again, talking about let's keep these dollars and let's keep Medicaid. That's very important. Mental health is another one right now that they're talking about. So I was reading it on here saying, contact your legislatures because of the funding. So it's very serious. I'm very passionate about it. So it's very important. Even check on your loved ones and stuff. You don't know what people are going through. They might say they're having a good day, but they're really not. So I know the police department, that's great. You have counselors over there going on crisis. I want to see that continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. Is there anyone on my left? Anyone on my right? Okay, seeing and hearing none, we will close public comment and move on to comments from the administration.
Thank you, Council President. Happy Cinco de Mayo, everybody. I hope you got to maybe go to a Mexican restaurant if you were on the way here. I know some of our staff, we kind of paired off and went to different spots today. So I personally was at Los Amigos before my election commission meeting, which was at 5. I got some dinner because I knew I was going to have a long night here. I want to thank City Council for reconfirming, reappointing Matt Miller I know he was here tonight, but he must have took off, to the Tifa Board, and Aaron Brown to the DDA. So I want to thank you to Mr. Miller and Mr. Brown for your continued service to our city. We've had a lot of great events over the last couple of weeks. I won't list them all, but I just want to thank everybody who put in the time and the hard work, who attended them, who volunteered and sponsored them in order to make them successful. Thank you to our fire and our police for helping facilitate a lot of our great events in our city too, and of course our DPS staff. Spring street sweeping began on Friday with the garbage route. I want to ask that residents remove vehicles from their streets during their scheduled routes to allow our crews to sweep the curb lanes thoroughly. The schedule is on our website and it's also on our social media pages. We'll make sure to repost those this week. Ms. Wilson, I know you asked again about speed humps. Oh, she took off. Well, maybe you can let her know. Yeah, we should have put a speed hump, yeah. But I've asked DPS staff to double up speed humps on several streets in Annapolis Park because these are long thoroughfares where there's a lot of room in between the stop signs. I know personally, I've seen people speed right through a lot of those streets, and you got a lot of pedestrians over there. So I know that neighborhood probably has more speed humps than most, but I think they're needed. For safety reasons, I've asked DPS to double up speed humps in the next few weeks on those streets. So I just wanted to update the community on that. I'd also like to wish my mother Becky and all mothers a happy Mother's Day coming up on Sunday. Hopefully you still have your mother in your life. If you don't, I know you're probably thinking of her. And just want to thank my mother for all the support over the years. And yeah, happy Mother's Day. The next stop of the Mayor's 2025 listening tour will be on Tuesday, May 13th, right here at Starbucks at the corner of Central City and Warren Roads. This is actually going to be a little bit different. It's going to be at 11 a.m. Tuesday, May 13th at Starbucks. We're going to try to do it on the patio. There'll be free coffee for all residents who attend. And it's going to be more of like a meet and greet style, so a little less, probably even less of me speaking and less of our staff speaking and more of just maybe residents can sit down and have a coffee with me. And I appreciate Starbucks for sponsoring our event and hope you can make it by for a coffee. But we try to do these on different days of the week and different times of day so that different folks can make it. And of course, we're moving it around the city as we go. The Jefferson Barnes Community Vitality Center at 32150 Dorsey Street will host a family jamboree on Wednesday, May 14th from 5 to 7 p.m. So come on out for food, games, music, a bike raffle, and information on a variety of programs, including utility assistance, healthcare, housing, and more. Thank you to the Norwayne Citizens Council for all of your hard work. Appreciate everything you're doing. Friday, May 16th is the City of Westland's 59th birthday. So happy birthday to our great city. As you can see, we got a lot of different voices in our community, but we'll all work together to try to make our city better. And hopefully we're all still around for next year when we can celebrate the city's 60th anniversary and 60th birthday. And we'll figure out a big way to work together to do that. So I'm excited to move forward over the next year, working with City Council, the residents, all of our board and commission members, and all of our city staff. That's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Anything from the city attorney's office this evening? Okay, we will begin council comments this evening with Councilman Hornbuckle. Sorry,
No problem. Thank you. I appreciate it. First thing, I want to say happy Mother's Day to everyone up here, everyone in the audience, and everyone at home watching. I do want to talk about bulk pickup day. I've been around the city and I noticed that people are still putting their bulk pickups a week before their recycle pickup, and so stuff are sitting 2 weeks before pickup. So if, the mayor or someone can do a PSA or something in the water bill to let people know that bulk pickup goes out on your recycle day, not trash day. Also, I do want to talk about 5 and 6 again, why I supported it. I supported the budget only because the mayor guaranteed that he will make sure those sidewalks are done for no less than $150K. So if he hold his promise, then I'll be okay with that. Other than that, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Hornbuckle. We will now hear from Councilman Hart.
Oh, not a whole lot for me today, Council President. Thank you. I just wanted to go, of course, wish all the mothers happy Mother's Day. To Linda, happy Mother's Day. My son, happy birthday. He turned 18 last Friday. So my youngest now is officially of legal age. And now we're a 5-voting household. And then I can throw all of my kids out legally, so don't forget it. And then, of course, my daughter, she'll be 22 this Friday. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman Hart. We will now hear from Councilwoman Rakowski.
Thank you, Council President. I know everyone's heard quite enough from me this evening, but I want to just say sometimes you need to get in a little bit of good trouble. I'm sorry it didn't turn out the way that we had hoped, but the point is it's not always about money, people. It's about people. It's the people that elected each and every one of us up here. It's the people that pay the taxes to get the services. And, I think far too often we get wrapped up in what looks good, what feels good. Oh, we want the big stores. And at the end of the day, it's just about people. And that's really what it's all about. And, Mrs. Worm made a comment about why did it take this long? It shouldn't have taken this long. And I apologized earlier for not holding my council leadership, myself, or the administration accountable, and I'll do that again. And I'm sorry, Council President, for interrupting your meeting and being out of order. However, it's time to start listening to people. We have far too much being taken away from us at every moment, and we don't know what the future is holding for our community. And, if we're not going to start listening to one another now, when are we going to do it? Happy Mother's Day, Mom. I love you. I'm so happy that you're still my mom. It's my first Mother's Day as a single mother. And I see all of those women who want to be moms or act as moms. And I know it's a hard day, so just know that you're seen and loved for the person that you are, not necessarily the role you take in someone's life.
Thank you, Councilwoman Rakowski. We will now hear from Councilman Wishart.
Thank you, Council President. I want to wish my wife a happy Mother's Day. This is our first Mother's Day ever. She's knocked out of the park so far, and it's bringing new meaning to being a mom to me. Also like to remind everyone, get out there and early vote. We just approved it today, but no one cares if you're going to complain on Facebook if you didn't vote or yell at the TV. Your voice has to count. And I want to clarify why I voted yes. With the mayor's guarantee to get the sidewalk, I feel as though it's a good choice. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Baumann.
Thank you. I'm just going to echo the Mother's Day part. I love quotes, and so I just found a little one. Mothers hold their children's hands for a while, but their hearts forever. And I thought that was very good for someone. My mom is not with me, and I'm a mom with 3 children, and I have a friend who actually just lost her 8-month-old. So, big, crazy Mother's Day for a lot. So I want to wish my colleagues Mother's Day, as well as all the people listening, and then here today, who are mothers, happy Mother's Day. I want to thank Ray for bringing up mental health. It is a big issue on my side too. I mean, separately from different, it covers a whole gamut. But it is one of those things that you don't know. Like you don't know what someone's going through. Even if you think you can read their eyes, sometimes you can't see that. And as we come into different seasons of our world, I know luckily we're coming out of the winter cabin fever part, hopefully, and maybe we're seeing a little more sunshine, and that can help. So I encourage people to get out and get that sunshine, even if it's a moment of the day, because that can make such a difference in how you feel about things. So I'm just going to encourage people with that, because it is such an important part. And do that. And along with that, I do also want to apologize to my council member, Rakowski, I did not, I'm usually really, really good and restrained to not interrupt, and I wasn't mean to do that. I had a question, and I want to apologize because that was wrong of me to do that, so I'm sorry. With that also, I wanted to recognize that as I was recalling last year in the conversation about CDBG, I remember some of the things coming up, and I want to appreciate Ms. Worm's comments and Mr. Warren's comments of a apparent scolding of us who have not gone, but I personally did not do everything I could to learn more about CDBG, but I did meet with Director Campbell, and I did sit in with the CDBG Commission recently to learn more. And while it was only once, it wasn't everything, and I want to recognize that, I own not doing that more, to be listening, not just here, but there. And so I will, I'm going to make some commitments. I got to do better. So I just have to say I got to do better for that. But that was one reason why I did meet with them in the last, it was a couple months ago now, I think. But I did do that because I wanted to understand a little bit more from being in the environment. I think that might be all I wanted to say tonight. There's all the notes I have for all this tonight. So again, thank you. And I'm going to also, just because a little bit, I'm going to wish all the graduates. A bunch of colleges graduated this past Saturday, and I want to wish all the graduates congratulations. And I know we've got some graduations coming up over the next month and things like that, so I equally want to wish all the graduates coming up, commencement's a beginning. And I always want to remember that it's wherever you're at, it's a beginning, and there's so much opportunity out there. So I encourage people to make the most of wherever they're at in their life, because they can make any day a commencement if they want. Anyway, that's about it. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilwoman Baumann. Pro Tem Sampe.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for coming out this evening. Thank you for speaking. I think my vote was pretty clear. I did vote the same as I did before, and I voted no. My goal was to actually have a special meeting to discuss, to make sure that we're being fair and equitable, and also to make sure the committee is heard. I do believe the mayor when he says the sidewalks are going to get done. My goal was to look to see if we could put it in the plan, because that's what I feel like, that's really what the money's for, right? And I had concerns I wanted to talk through in a special meeting. It didn't happen. I'm sorry that it didn't happen, but my passion has always been to listen to the residents, to make sure we're being fair and equitable, to make sure that we are spending the money in ways that it should be spent. Again, like I said, I don't disagree that the mayor's not going to, do the sidewalks, but as Councilwoman Rakowski said, we work for you guys. Committees are really important, being planning commissioners, being on board members. You guys work really hard. We try to respect up here in this body, we try to respect what you guys say. And the recommendations, I don't live in Norway, and I don't live in the Carver sub. That's why I have you guys. That's why I have you advising and listening. So when you come to us to say, I believe this is the best use of funds, I've always been the one to listen. So that was my vote. It was not to go against administration. I want to be clear, because I already know it's going to be framed that way. But I wanted to make sure that you were listened to and you were heard, and you always are with me. So, I just hope that the sidewalk program comes to fruition, and I'm going to do everything I can to follow up and make sure that it does happen, because you deserve it, and you spoke out about it, and I have your back. So, that's all I'm going to say about that. I know that we talked a lot, and it's getting late, so I'm really sorry that it's been a long meeting. I just want to also say is Mental Health Awareness Month is May. I appreciate it being brought up. I know Ray is a big advocate. A lot of my council colleagues are advocates too. Every May you hear the speech from Melissa is check on a family member, a friend. I have a lot of people in my family that deal with mental health. Over the past few years, I had individuals that committed suicide. So you just don't know what's going on in someone's life. I always tell people you walk with kindness, You know, you ask people how you're doing and just being a good person. You know, I always say operating under the assumption that everyone's struggling with something mentally. And since COVID happened, I've noticed that more individuals are struggling. You know, that smile that we have on our face and the smile that everything's okay, a lot of times it's not. You know, people are struggling in silence. Some people may be emotional. Some people may be dealing with divorces and deaths and job losses. And I just want you to know that, you know, if you do have issues and you have no one to talk to, first off, I'm here, always, but I encourage you to dial the suicide prevention hotline and reach out, get some help. Mental health resources are hard to come by. Throughout the month of May, I'm going to be sharing it on my page, but it is okay to ask for help. It is absolutely okay. Asking for help is a sign of strength, not weakness. It's not, okay? It's not being weak asking for help. I would love to see everyone's faces here. So if you're struggling and you know someone that's struggling, let them know it's okay and that help is available. I wanted to thank everyone. I'm big on praise and thanks. I had an amazing group of committee members. I would be remiss if I did, you know, not give them all the thanks and applause. But we hosted the Autism Acceptance Community Day and Walk on April 26th, and it was almost 300 people in attendance. There was free food. There was free resources. Many of you in the audience showed up, so thank you so much for your support. But I wanted to thank the committee members because I'm really big on collaboration and working with people and trying to get all the resources and voices and, you know, diverse backgrounds. And we put together a pretty awesome committee group that pulled their resources together. It wasn't just me. So I wanted to thank our Parks Director, Kyle Mulligan, the Chief of Police, Kyle Dolly, the Fire Chief, Daryl Stamper, my mom being an autism parent, Don Nicholson, who is an autism advocate many years, Gretchen Still, and Rachel Hensel, and also our community police officers too, Cameron and Kaylee, who helped. It was fantastic, and the reason why we do events like this, at least the reason why I want to do events like this, is to get that one person that said, I walked away with so many resources. I walked away with a resource for my son that I could not find. And we had that happen in numerous occasions. I got many inbox messages. So I just want to thank everyone in my committee that showed up. We met multiple times. I wanted to thank our sponsors, Soleil Construction and Team Wellness Westland. They were our presenting sponsors. Our activity sponsors, Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib and Hygera Health. Services to Enhance Potential STEP, the Westland Firefighters, Councilman Delana Hornbuckle for donating ice cream, Don Nicholson Enterprises, the Westland Police Partnership, Living and Learning Enrichment Center, Public Service Credit, Festive Flamingo, Communication is Key, and Super Sweet Speech. So thank you, everyone, and I promise you next year is going to be bigger and better. We're already planning, so we're pretty excited about that. And wanted to thank the Westland Police for hosting the Kids Safety Day. You guys did a phenomenal job. I was able to go out there. There was a lot of people out there. It was really chilly this past Saturday. But thank you, because I really preached very hard, so thanks, Chief. I kind of beat him up a few times, say we can't lose this. But a lot of smiling kids, a lot of smiling families, so that took place this past weekend. And then I just wanted to also plug that there's a great event coming up on May 20th. I will be a speaker involved in the event, and also with Wayne County Commissioner Alicia Bell. We are doing a charity event for Purpose Hands Nonprofit. It's founded by Adelina Robinson, who owns Kids Purpose Learning Daycare. She's done a lot for the community. A lot of the vulnerable communities that she serves come in, and the moms just drop off the kid. No diaper, no wipes. They struggle with formula, food, so she really, really, really needed support. She had asked me if I could help, and I said, absolutely. So all the direct support from this event is going to help with the formula, the diapers, the clothing, the wipes, the childcare assistance, and Adelina's an angel in our community. So I'll put this information on my council page, my personal council page, Melissa Ciampi. You can find Councilwoman Melissa Ciampi. But again, this event, May 20th, 6 to 9, Westland City Hall, for a really great cause. I'm going to wrap up too and also say Happy Mother's Day to my mom. She is amazing. I'm so lucky to have her. I almost lost her a few years ago to a heart event, and I'm so thankful that I have her. And I just want to wish my colleagues, Councilwoman Rakowski, hopefully we can spend Mother's Day with each other. Give you a big hug. And Councilwoman Ballman, too. I hope you ladies have a great Mother's Day. And to all the Mother's Day, to all the mothers that are celebrating Mother's Day, happy Mother's Day. If you still have your mom, give her a big hug and a kiss. I hope to see everyone on the 19th. That's our next meeting. We invite you to come out. Until then, be safe and kind with one another, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Pro Tem. A few things tonight. So with regards to the CDBG funding, I always want people to get the answers that they need. And if I failed on that, then I accept responsibility for that. And that's on me. We had a study session on March 17th, and I thought that that was going to be sufficient to move this along to the agenda. And clearly, it was not. And so I accept responsibility for that, for, I guess, not going around and roping everybody into the conversation to say, where are we at? How do we feel? So I accept responsibility for that, and I will put that onus on myself. Throughout the years that I've been on council, now I think, going on 6th year on city council, when particular areas of the city have had a need and they've come to me or any one of us, I've always worked to try and get that done and addressed as best as I can. Councilman Hornbuckle and myself, when folks in Fairfield Glade wanted the lights after the developer skipped town, worked to get that done after a couple of years. And he took, a lot of leadership on that one, on our ARPA subcommittee. And all of my colleagues, we all work collaboratively and collectively with the administration to make that happen. The first 2 phases of the Grand Traverse repavement. When I started on council back in 2016, before we even started phase 1, it was one of the worst areas in the city as far as road 2019. 2019, thank you. It was one of the worst areas of disrepair. And, we all collectively, as a council, even though it wasn't in the Norwayne CDBG infrastructure funding, worked to get it done and make it happen. And the same thing goes with the ditches and culverts that we know need to be dug out and repaired in Norwayne. And the same thing goes with the sidewalks over there, any that need to be replaced in the Carver subdivision. And so when we know we have a pot of money to do those things in our general fund, we want to take care of that and fund it. Now, I understand the purpose behind the Community Development Block Grant Fund and why decades ago CDBG was created to help low and moderate income areas and communities and people that live within those tracts. And yes, we want a predominant amount of money to be spent on those people that live in those communities. And by and large, we have done that for several areas. There are CDB census tracts that have received no money since I've been on council, but I get it. Norwayne and Carver have gotten the most attention because oftentimes they need the most attention. And in particular, the Norwayne area. And so I always want to see all the projects that need to be done completed and made to fruition, as all of my colleagues do. And I really appreciate the impassioned conversation that we had here tonight. I appreciate my colleague, Councilwoman Rakowski, really, leading the charge on that. So thank you for that. Thank you for holding me accountable and me in check. So I do genuinely and humbly appreciate that. So thank you. So in the future, I will hold myself more to account. And I would hope that folks can come to me and say, hey, you know what, we had that study session, but I've got some more questions, I've got some more concerns. What can we do to make sure that they are addressed? And I would be happy to make sure that those are addressed. I've talked to several people who came up here and spoke from the audience tonight about concerns that they've had, about issues that they have, whether it's the ditches and culverts that I've talked with Ms. Warren about, or, you know, Mr. Warren about things in his neighborhood in the Carver subdivision. And we want to get those things done, full stop. And we want to make sure that projects in any area of the city that are at a critical mass get done. So I accept responsibility for my vote, and for, you know, maybe not being as clear and directive in getting information from my colleagues. But I am most certainly committed, as I've always been when other projects have arisen, to get these particular ones done and completed and seen all the way through. Mother's Day is coming up, as all my colleagues mentioned. I'd like to wish my mom the very best, a happy and wonderful Mother's Day. She has been a rock for me throughout my life. And as someone who comes, you know, from a divorced household and lives, I have a relationship with my father too, but who's lived with my mother predominantly throughout most of my childhood. She has been there for me in more ways than one can ask. So happy Mother's Day to my mom and to all the moms up here on City Council and all the moms in Westland. As my colleague also mentioned, we had the Kids Safety Day this past weekend, so thank you to the Westland Police Department and the Westland Fire Department for putting that on again, our community police officers for, you know, really taking charge on that. Really appreciate all the work that you do there, so thank you for that. And then also a big thank you to the committee for the Westland Fire Department and Local 1279 who put on another great firefighters charity ball this year with the masquerade theme. I had the chance to attend along with all of my colleagues on council, so appreciate that. I'm committed to, you know, doing better in the future, and I hope that if anybody has concerns with something that is on an agenda or coming up an agenda or anything that I am doing leadership-wise, I hope that you come to me. And if it's a harsh conversation that we need to have, then I will accept responsibility for that and have that conversation. If it is criticism or praise, I will accept it or deal with it either way. That is what my role and responsibility is as a council person, right? It is not because everything is sunshine and rainbows and perfect. If it was, I don't think any of us would want to be up here because all of our problems would be solved. But I will accept responsibility. I will be as open a door as I can be to all of my colleagues and anyone that wants to address any particular issue, any agenda item with me. And so I accept that responsibility. Thank you. And with that, is there a motion to adjourn?